deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords spray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old lions, just the kings of the northern reign. I pledge my allegiance, my heart and my roar, to the team that we love and the team we adore. With kneecaps for breakfast and victory in sight, we're the Detroit Lions and we're winning tonight.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Rise of Grind Morning Show, man. It's officially here. The boys are back. We're all back together again this weekend, though, if you're going to be there for the Lions Loyal Members First Training Camp Practice. I believe it's August 2nd, if my memory hasn't escaped me already. But we're back. Eric's back this morning. He'll be visiting us more frequently as we get closer to the season. Last night we did an impromptu test on some new equipment, talked about some topics, some of the ones that we'll still talk about today. But today is largely just kind of going through what the media is talking about. And you know, Tim Twentyman is someone that obviously we trust. He's very professional. So we're going to go through a lot of what's on the Lions page today, kind of discuss what's happening. We are streaming to 3 places today. We should be on DFJ Sports on Twitter, and we should be on the old @Detroit Lions Today channel on YouTube. And then we should also be here on YouTube. And then as we get motoring throughout the rest of the week, we will start adding more and more channels. We should be up to like 11 channels this year and really get plastered everywhere. We would love to earn your subscription today. So if you love what you're hearing today, do us the honor and subscribe. Obviously, I'm going to try to do my part as best as I can each and every week and bring in some great guests, great content, and have good, honest, professional conversations. Without further ado, let's get Eric in. Let's get rolling. It's July 28th. The vets are reporting. Some of them have been around. Let's get it kicked off.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right. Good morning, Eric. How are you this morning, man?
Fantastic. Just give me a helmet, some pads, and I'm ready to go in, Coach.
There we go, bro. There we go. I mean, you got the glasses on this morning. Obviously, you're trying to shield from the hate. No, you're not trying to shield from the hate this morning. We're gonna run straight into the fire today, bro. Straight into the fire.
I'm trying to shield from the headache.
The headache. There you go. Too many cocktails last night?
No, my lights are hurting my eyes this morning. So
yeah, you know how it goes, man. You can tell the truth. It's okay, Eric. There's 12 steps to the program, bro. We can get you on it, no problem.
I actually haven't had a drink of alcohol in like 15 years.
That's crazy, bro. Like yeah. I stopped drinking just because, like, I don't know. I think I'm getting close to 6 years now. I think I'm getting pretty close.
Mine wasn't for any reason whatsoever other than I just don't care for drinking.
Yeah, it's not good, man. It's poison. I mean, to each their own, right? I mean, I used to love going to tailgates and drinking on some hot apple cider and whiskey, you know, that we would have on the cold days, especially around Thanksgiving. The first time I ever had that, or like the apple cider or apple moonshine that people would make, you know, just by Everclear and like some sort of vanilla, whatever. They would make this hot apple cider stuff and the apple moonshine. That stuff was great on a cold, blistering day at the Pontiac Silverdome or at Ford Field. when you're with your closest friends. You're about to go in and watch the Lions, hopefully win. And those memories they'll last forever, right? And that's what today's all about, because we're starting again and the season's finally here. That's right. We blinked once, twice. We slept a couple of times. The season ended on a bad note. Let's kick it off on a good note, man. Anything you want to add to that as far as memories, man? What you enjoyed from last year? You did put it up. You did answer my Twitter questions. Maybe you should explain that.
What was your Twitter question? Remind me again.
The Twitter question was, what was your best memory from 2025?
Well, I got a few of them, Dude, one of my favorite memories was meeting the guy from Noggin Boss and doing an interview with him and having the big Noggin hat. And I ended up wearing it for a bunch of games, and I put all my game pins on it now. So every game I go to, I get a pin and put all my pins on it. And I thought that was pretty cool, some way to have it so I'm not wearing a vest or something with all my pins, like to bring them and show them off,
Right.
And I don't know, it's like, I think my favorite moment, like from watching players on the field from the whole season, the one that gave me the most joy was watching Isaac Tesla get his first touchdown against the Green Bay Packers. Now, I know it was in garbage time. I know we didn't have a chance to win the game, but to watch him go up right in front of me, snag that out of the air with one hand in his very first game, and kind of shut all the haters up that he was a 3rd round pick and Brad traded up for him and yada, yada, yada. You're not going to hear a whole bunch of crap about Brad Holmes trading up for our 2nd round pick this year because it's an edge rusher, Derek Moore. You won't hear anything about that. You're not going to hear anybody complaining that we moved up, 15 spots to go take him.
I thought it was only 3. I don't remember, but I think it was
three?
I think it was only a few spots, but it doesn't
Whatever
matter. We got the guy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you're not going to hear people complaining like you did about Giovanni Manu and about Tesla because they were 3rd round picks.
Well, there's no room to complain now. There's no room.
Yeah. So I like that. I really like the Isaac Tesla moments from last year, seeing him grow as a rookie, get in there, get his feet wet, even though it was a little discombobulated, especially early in the season with Johnny Morton, seeing that Dan Campbell still had it as a coach and he can get in there and he can be an offensive coordinator if he needs to be, but he doesn't want to be. And I like that he wants to be the actual coach of the team. That's what he was hired to do. He wasn't hired to come in and be the offensive coordinator. He's not Andy Reid. He doesn't want to be Andy Reid. And I like that about Dan Campbell, but he can be if he has to be.
Yeah, he's not going to have to be. Like that's the good part. Like Dan Campbell's just going to be able to do what he does and coach. It's not that he can't do it. Look, I think that if Dan Campbell spent the entire offseason just being the offensive coordinator, I think we would be fine. But I also feel like we would lose so much, when your head coach can't just focus on one thing. And I know other coaches do it, right? But they've been doing it, right? They've been an offensive coordinator that have, turned into a head coach. It's totally different when you see coaches that call plays, like even Sean Payton, I think is relinquishing some of his duties this year. And even Ben Johnson, he brought in an offensive coordinator. God, what's his name? I can't remember his name now. I think last name starts with a D. But anyway, when you see a coach do both, it's pretty special. But at the same time, like I said, they've been doing it for a long time. Dan gets kind of thrown into it because he has to crap, I got to take this over. But I don't think that he can't do it. I think that he could. But to your point, yeah, Dan gets to be the coach. Drew Petzing gets to be the OC. And I think we're going to be in great shape this year with both those guys just doing their jobs. The question is, what was your most exciting moment of 2025? And I'd have to say that for me, it started at week 1 sucked, right? But week 2 last year was probably my favorite game of the season. One of the favorite games. So you guys let me know in the comments, obviously after, if you're watching the show after, in the chat right now. Do me 2 favors real quick. One, what is your most favorite your most favorite memory or memories from 2025 season? And then number 2, Where are you watching the show from? Are you catching this on Twitter? Are you catching it on the old YouTube channel? Like, where are you guys at? Let us know in the chat right now. That'd be helpful because this chat that I have now, it's supposed to bring everybody in, and I'm just curious if everyone's coming from YouTube.
I snuck a peek over at the Twitter, and it is running there.
Yeah, I checked both too, so they're good. That's great that this system works, and I'm not an idiot. That helps. But yeah, week 2, man, the Bears, we smoked them 52-21, and quite honestly, the last 14 points of that game that the Bears scored, it did not make this game even that much more close, but it was points that they shouldn't have had. They scored, I think, 14 points in the first half, and then a lonely touchdown in the fourth quarter, if I remember correctly. That was my favorite game of the year because we kicked the crap out of Ben Johnson, like all the animosity, the buildup, the anxiety, because a lot of us are thinking, damn, we can't go lose to Ben in week 2. Like we can't allow Ben to do what Dan did to Sean Payton. You know, I think the year before in 2023 when we kicked the crap out of Denver, and so we didn't allow it to happen. And Caleb Williams, of course, threw an interception in that game. If I were to throw my second favorite game or you know, as a moment of the season last year, I'd have to say, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up because I love the Ravens game too. I think that was a hell of a showing of defense, especially in the second half. But that Cowboys game, man, that Cowboys game, 44-30 last year, again, those 30 points that the Cowboys scored, they got like 21 points in the second half after we already put up 27 points by the third quarter and then pounced them another 17 in the fourth quarter. That game just felt so good to kind of erase those negative memories that we had with the whole Taylor Decker situation. And we've been playing the Cowboys like every damn year on the road. And this time they come to Detroit and we kick their ass. So those are probably my two favorite games. But moments-wise, I'm right there with you, man. Isaac Tesla.
Well, what about this? What was your most polarizing moment from last season? And I'll tell you mine. Okay. My most polarizing kick the crap out of me moment of last year was the Steeler game, the very last play of the game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The ref goes like this, puts his arms up in the air for a touchdown. They put the points on the board. The scoreboard says zeros, right? No time left on the clock. The fans all get up and start walking out of the stadium. 90 seconds later, they come and say, well, there was a penalty on the play. Touchdown Lions. The penalty wipes out the touchdown. No more time on the clock. The game is over with no explanation. And I just was so devastated. You give us that play right there, just that one play last year in that game, that touchdown counts, okay? That puts us at 10 wins.
Yep.
How many wins did the Packers have?
9.
How many wins
but they had
did the Vikings
they had that tie, right? So that kind of gave 9.5. So we needed 10, yeah.
Yes. And how many did the Vikings have?
9.
So who would have went to the playoffs last year with 10 wins? The Lions. So that one play, only one play last year, we were one play away from the playoffs, and that haunted me all season long.
I'm trying to think. Like the Eagles game was just a mess. I mean, it was a mess. It was cold. Yeah. It was a mess. Neither team could really do anything. To me, that was a game that got away. That is a game that we should have won. Man, the other polarizing moments of last year, I'm gonna have to go with the Kelsey catch, no catch in the Kansas City Chiefs game.
Oh yeah,
that was some bull shnikes, man. Like there was some home cooking going on in that game for the Kansas City Chiefs. There was so much. If I remember correctly, that is when I put out the bombshell report on all the fixes that we felt was going on from the refs, and that video's still doing views. It's crazy.
What about the tight end for the Rams that did not catch the ball, but they said he caught it to give him a touchdown?
There's a lot of moments last year that just kind of make you scratch your head. So that game, I feel like it was that moment that changed the game in Kansas City. And if had that catch not been a catch, I think they scored shortly after that. Had that catch not been a catch, we would have had the ball back. We would have had more time, and I think that the Lions would have ended up, beating the Chiefs. And the Chiefs didn't really go on to win much after that, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes gets injured. I think shortly there,
6 games.
Yeah, shortly thereafter, and what a mess. What a mess. Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, all clear to enter training camp, man.
Yeah, him and Daniel Jones.
All clear. That's craziness. So that kind of makes me. It kind of makes me feel a little bit better about Brian Branch because let's see, when did Daniel Jones get injured last year? Do you remember what week it was? I'll look it up.
Week 10, I think, because they were at like 8 or 9 wins when he went down.
Yeah, so it's December 7. And so if he's cleared for training camp, you're talking 8-month surgery, recovery, and everything, and he's in? Probably limited, or is he a full go?
Full go, they said.
He's a full go. And how about Patty Mahomes?
Yeah, it said today that he is cleared for practice.
And so he was injured December 14th, a week later.
Yep.
And so if he's good to go, then Brian Branch, you would think might be close unless he's had some issues in recovery because he was injured December 4.
Yeah.
So all three of those players were injured within about a week of each other, and Brian Branch is the only one that's not cleared full go. I'm willing to bet that the Lions are probably trying to be a little bit more careful, but you're talking about 2 quarterbacks that need to run this team, each team. Brian just needs to play. He doesn't have to play every snap. He just needs to play. So I'm wondering if we hear in a week or so that Brian may be activated off pup.
That would be awesome.
Or maybe they wait till preseason. Maybe they give him a couple more weeks that they don't want him to have any issues. But we haven't heard of any sort of a setback for Brian Branch. And obviously when Dan Campbell starts to hit the microphone, maybe some of those questions will be asked. Has there been any setbacks with Brian Branch? Because you have 2 other, big names, same injuries, very close, in timeline to BB, and they're in, but he's not. So I don't know. Should we worry or should we feel more confident that he could be back sooner? What do you think?
I don't know, because when they talked to Dan Campbell, he said, well, I'm going to give you an update. Let's say December. That way it's somewhere between the start of training camp and December. I'm not giving you guys a date. So listen, everybody heals differently. Everybody heals at a different pace. What if he had a setback? We don't know any of this stuff, right? And we don't know what surgeon these other guys had. Did they have the exact same injury? Did they have the exact same surgery? Did they opt for something different than Brian Branch did? We don't know any of those details. We just know they all have Achilles injuries ACL for Mahomes, wasn't it? And Achilles for Daniel Jones.
It was Achilles for Branch. It was. I think it was ACL for Patty. So I mean that maybe makes a little bit more sense. But Daniel Jones had an Achilles.
Yes, and according to this, the Colts quarterback is fully cleared from his previous Achilles tear and is expected to be a full participant at the start of training camp.
He also had a left tibia fracture, so he had both.
Oh wow,
Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
so he had both going on there. I mean, hell of a recovery, right? Hell of a recovery for both of them. I think it's incredible. So today we're going to try to get through whatever we get through. We're just going to have conversations with what's happening on the Lions website. We're going to go through what Tim Twentyman's talking about and what is I guess on his mind for the season. The information is going to start pumping out soon, but there was a good question in the chat I want to get back to, and I believe it was Sunburst that first asked it. So forgive me if I'm wrong. But the question was something about Mike Kafka. So if Drew Petzing's on the field, which he's expected to be, is Mike Kafka going to be on the field or is he going to be in the booth? I would expect Kafka to be in the booth. I think that most of your passing game coordinators like to have that eagle eye view to see what's going on with the defense. You have a much better view when you can watch the safeties rotate. You can watch guys, drop into coverage, and kind of see what they're doing when you're lining up in specific situations. You're throwing different motions at them. You have a much better view. So I'm expecting Kafka to be up top. And I think that there was a rumor way back in the spring that Petzing said that he was going to try both, but more than likely he's going to be on the field for the season. That's where he has been for the entirety of his career that he was in Arizona, at least that I saw. So I don't expect Petzing to be up in the booth. But great question. Look, that's another what could potentially be an unsung hero of 2026. Mike Kafka. Back when we were talking about potential offensive coordinators for the Lions, Mike Kafka is one that I highlighted, and I put up an article about him, and I talked about his passing prowess, man. I talked about how good he is in the pass game. And it's a no-brainer that Mike Kafka was added to this team, this team of coaches, because what he's going to bring is not only as a former I think he was interim head coach there for a little bit, if memory serves me, and all the time that he has spent on the offensive side of the football, and as a former quarterback, I think that he has very unique qualities, obviously experience, that is going to lend to Drew Petzing and the rest of the group, right? The rest of the team to be able to get better, to have more vision. And I think that they're going to trust him just as they would Drew Petzing or anybody else to, execute certain plays and call those plays into Drew Petzing and say, hey, this is what I see, man. And I think it's going to be a great marriage. So don't discredit Mike Kafka as just a passing game coordinator. This dude has a ton of experience, and I think he's going to give the Lions an edge this year here in 2026. Any thoughts on Kafka?
Yeah, I like that Kafka's here because this gives us a backup. Let's say it doesn't work out with Drew Petzing. Well, you got Kafka in the building. You don't have to go and get another offensive coordinator. You got one built in. So there's no way that Dan Campbell has to take over anything this year. He can just be the head coach. Let him coach. So I like it. I like that he's here. He's someone to shoot ideas off of. He can say, hey, what worked in New York? What did you guys do here? So to me, it only makes sense to have more minds in the room, do the hive mind thing, everybody putting their 2 cents in. I think it works a lot better than just, hey, it's my way or the highway. And the Lions, they seem to be doing things in more of a hive way than the singular way, because the Johnny Morton experiment did not work out.
Failed miserably. You mentioned the word hive, and what I think when I think of Kafka, I think of that blended hybrid system of the West Coast RPO structure is what I think. And I think I wrote about that in my article too, way back, months ago when I did it. But he does a lot of horizontal spacing. He utilizes a pure West Coast, principle, but I don't think the Lions are going to be boxed into just pure West Coast. I think that you're going to see a lot of horizontal, spreading the defense wide, is what you want to do. You want to create holes, and then you want to isolate, and then you want to get guys into the holes, right? And you want to get them freed up. And I think that that's what he's going to bring to this team is that vision, those principles in the West Coast RPO hybrid system. He also is a very modern guy, I would say, in the run pass options. So the RPO system that he has ran, especially in New York. I mean, you've seen it work last year, and you've seen it work at other places that he's been. He's been around, man. He's been under some really good coaches, under Andy Reid, Daboll, and others. But he has an extensive amount of intelligence. He likes to spread the ball, to run the ball. And to me, the play action systems that really compress formations and Lions, according to Monroe St. Brown, we're going to run a lot more play action this year. Kafka loves to use that 11 personnel. Lions love to use 11 personnel. And he explicitly tries to widen the field as opposed to keep it as, more condensed like we saw last year. So I'm wholly expecting that we're going to see condensed formations, absolutely. We're going to see a ton of 11 personnel, absolutely. We're going to see a ton of play action. And the play action is only going to work if Petzing and Kafka are able to marry that run to the pass so effectively that the linebackers don't have a clue, and they're going to commit when they shouldn't commit. And when that happens, and you're able to get that defense horizontal, that is when you're going to see players like Isaac Tesla, Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the slot or the backfield, and Jamison Williams really be able to take advantage of the defense, because it only takes one of them. And I can't forget about Sam Laporta. But all four of those guys are going to have a unique opportunity, because Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get a lot of, he's going to get a lot of heat from the defense. So those four guys, I think, are going to benefit big time with Mike Kafka's presence in Detroit. Anything else you want to add to that? It's a good topic.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be a true marriage of two very good offensive coordinators. Having Kafka and Petzing together, I think the two of them together is better than either one of them on their own. So this is going to be really nice, having them both be able to throw things off each other. And we might see some stuff we've never seen before just because of that marriage with those two guys.
More than likely, man. I would agree. So in the chat, I've got this new chat function. I don't know how to use it. It looks like I can't even do polls. So
really?
I'm going to have to get the other chat up at some point. But I'm just going to ask the question again. Let us know where you're watching from today, whether it's, Twitter, Twitter X, or YouTube. That would be great. Did that work? My message went in. There we go. That works. When we think about Drew Petzing, so might as well talk about him for a moment. Under Drew Petzing's leadership in Arizona, they ran a very violent run game, and they had a top two, I think it was top two run game for at least 2 seasons in a row, averaging more than 5 yards a carry. And it's pretty impressive when you think about the fact that last year they didn't really have any of their weapons in the game. And the 2 years previous to that, Drew Petzing was the offensive coordinator. I mean, they were dominating. Even with a porous offensive line, they were dominating. Now, they didn't do a whole lot against us when we went up against them a couple seasons ago. Matter of fact, they took out Marcus Davenport. Paris Johnson took out Marcus Davenport because he's dirty. And then that game, I mean, you could see that there was opportunity everywhere on the field. It just wasn't executed, right? The quarterback is terrible, right? Kyler Murray's terrible. But he brings a very violent run game. Drew Petzing does. And his offensive identity from the ground outward, he really institutes heavy commitment to physical, under the center, run concepts, if you will. Gap and power emphasis with Drew Petzing. And that really fits with the offensive line that the Lions have put together. His design really prioritizes duo, power, counter concepts, which Jahmyr Gibbs is going to excel in. We've been running this very similar system, obviously, the last 5 seasons. It's really not going to be any different, but I think that it's going to finally allow us to get back to where we were over the last couple of seasons, running downhill, use aggression rather than relying on just standard zone blocking. The Lions had a big-time zone concept mixed into their run game over the last few seasons. I think now you're going to see something that's just a little bit different, and we've got the guys that can move. When you look at Blake Miller, the reason why they brought him in, because he can move. Penei Sewell going to the left, why? Because he can move and he can block, and he can block downhill and, getting to that second, third level as needed. We've seen Penei Sewell running all the way downfield, 60 yards downfield at times making a block. And then there's the heavy personnel flexibility. A lot of conversation about, the heavy usage of 12, the heavy usage of 13 with three tight ends. And Petzing utilizes a lot of condensed formations. So there's kind of if you think about it logistically, there's kind of a riff then. You've got Kafka that loves to spread, still uses some bunch formations, tight formations at times, but he loves to spread. Petzing loves more condensed formations to create, I guess, the mathematical and the physical mismatches, if you will. So the blending of these two, back to your very first point about Kafka, a hive offense, right, or hybrid offense. You're going to be blending these two things together. And I think that is what's going to take this offense to the next level. It's been a top offense for the last 5 seasons, or really the last 3 seasons. Excuse me, but this is going to be the fourth season that I think we see something that we just haven't seen before. The NFL really hasn't seen before. I know that that's a wild ass take, but I'm going to take it, man. We're on fire this morning. Let's keep it rolling. What do you think about Drew Petzing? I know you were a little bit worried. You didn't really give him a whole lot of credit just yet. Has any of that changed yet?
No.
Damn it.
Not whatsoever. I got to see what happens in the season because he was with let's shoot it straight. He was with a shitty team with Arizona. Now, I think that all of the pieces are here with Detroit. But listen, last year, behind the scenes, it sounds like Jared Goff and Johnny Morton butted heads. They just did not get along with each other. So I want to make sure, I don't care how great of a coach he is, that he gets along with Jared Goff, that he listens to Jared Goff and includes Jared Goff in building this offense, because he should be building a brand new, completely new offense for this. Not just taking what worked in Arizona and bringing it here, building a completely new offense from the ground up for the Detroit Lions. So I don't know how they're doing it, but that's what my hope would be with Drew Petzing, is that he comes here, builds it specifically for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, because he doesn't have a quarterback that can run around like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, he gets the ball, he waits 0.4 seconds, and then he runs around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have that anymore. Drew Petzing no longer has a quarterback that can run around. He has a pocket passer, more of a Tom Brady type that sits in the pocket, reads the defense, can actually slice and dice a defense apart. So this is a little bit different than the situation he had in Arizona. Let's see how he can adjust to it. I'm really excited to see the preseason games, and I'm really excited to get into the real games.
So on your point about Petzing not having a quarterback that can run around, when I analyzed his offense and really kind of dug deep, when I wrote up the articles that I was writing early in the season, I haven't done a whole lot since on him, but that is something that I feel he's actually going to benefit from, because now Petzing is all about structure. Okay, he's all about putting the square peg in the square peg in the square hole, right? The round peg goes into the round hole. He's all about timing, landmarks, structure, and making sure that the guys are doing what they're supposed to do. When you have a quarterback that's running around and it's a lot of off structure stuff, he doesn't have what? Control. When you lose control, then you can't dictate those terms to the defense that you are trying to dictate. So if the play breaks down, or if your quarterback just decides, hey, I'm just going to run with the football, and it's not designed, well, then Petzing doesn't have the opportunity to see if that play was really going to work. With Jared Goff, he's going to know that he's going to stay in there as long as he needs to get the play off. And at the very last moment that he needs to either go down or take off, that's what he's going to get out of JG. So he has structure now. And he knows that when he calls a play, and it could take 3 seconds to develop, JG's going to be there, and he'll take the hit if he needs to get that pass off. So I think this helps Petzing, that he doesn't have a quarterback that's run around. Of course, everyone loves guys that are mobile. I'll always fall back to the guy that you mentioned. Tom Brady averaged less than 30 yards rushing a season, and he's won, 7 Super Bowls doing that. I'm not saying that JG is Tom Brady, but pocket quarterbacks are the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't care about rushing stats with a quarterback. Yes, there's a couple of things that highly mobile quarterbacks can do differently that can stress the defense. But if you have a quarterback that is intelligent, savvy, smart, and is willing to take the licks, which JG is tough as they come, you can do more with that quarterback than any other quarterback in the league. And I think that that's been proven. And I get it that Patty Mahomes is really good. And I get it that he's won, a few Super Bowls already. But that only lasts so long, right? Chicago has had mobile quarterbacks forever. How many Super Bowls have they won in the last 30 years? Right? Green Bay hasn't had a mobile quarterback in forever. Right? I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers could move around when he was young. Brett Favre could move around when he was young, but that's not what they were. They were not quarterbacks that wanted to get out and run. They haven't won a Super Bowl since what, 98? And even before that, I think it was, 20 years before that too. So it doesn't always work in both directions, but
2010.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go. 2010. There's the other channel. Someone was asking about the other channel on YouTube. It's the one that I always had. I used to have the Rise and Grind morning show. Here we're cooling off a little bit. I've always had the Rise and Grind morning show on there. That's where it started, and then I was going to use that channel to get other people rolling, but I can never find people that are overly committed. And so that channel is probably going to turn into what I said, way back in spring. I know people try to, bite what I do, but it's all good. It's been done before. It's most likely going to be, it'll host some live shows for this, but then I'm going to put pretty much all of my NFL content on there as far as like NFL news, NFL updates. But I'll do some live shows on it just to kind of keep the channel rolling and see what it turns into. But the goal is the other dozen or so channels that are rolling that just roll. Those channels are going to be fun at some point. So there you go. There's the other YouTube, whoever needed it. All right, what else is on your mind this morning?
All right. So I have a little bit I want to go through with the NFC North. I'm going to start with the Chicago Bears. We're going to list all the players that made the PUP list, the NFI, or the IR.
Could you do me a favor and
sure.
Can you post whatever you got in either email it to me or just pop it in the chat? Actually, I don't know if you can pop it in the chat.
I can't pop it in the chat, but I will send this to you right now. Let's see.
We also have our private chat too in the
in
the studio, but I never remember how to get to that.
Well, let's see if I can do it right now.
There we go. I think
I can always share my screen.
You can try that. We haven't put that together yet.
Yeah,
well, you can always try it, or we can do it off air and test it.
Yeah, paste is not working on this.
Where's it from? Just tell me where it's from.
There we go. From Sports Illustrated, the real one, not the other guy. There, I put it in the chat there.
I got
our private one. Okay. So we're going to start off with the Chicago Bears. So they have a linebacker issue right now. They have two linebackers starting the PUP. Noah Sewell and linebacker Keyshawn Elliott. And then on their NFI list, they have linebacker TJ Edwards. And then they're going to add in DB Kyler Gordon, offensive lineman Ozzie Trapilo, and defensive lineman Shamar Turner. So the Chicago Bears have 5 players on PUP and one on NFI. So the Lions aren't doing too bad with just their 3 players and one on the IR. So the Detroit Lions, for them, we know we have safety Brian Branch, safety Kirby Joseph, and tight end Tyler Conklin, all on the PUP list. Nobody on NFI. And then on the IR, we have Kendrick Law, who tore his ACL in off-season program and will not be with us this year. And then the Minnesota Vikings have no one. They are completely healthy heading into camp. I don't know if they've started yet, but as of right now, they have no one on PUP, no one on NFI, and no one on the IR. But the Green Bay Packers just this morning added someone new to their PUP list, and that is none other than Mr. Micah Parsons. So Micah Parsons will be starting the season on the PUP list. And also guard Aaron Banks, DB Kamal Hayden, defensive tackle Javon Hargrave that they just picked up from the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Green Bay Packers, they have a little bit of a tight end problem. So both of their starting tight ends, Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave are starting this season, at least the preseason, on the PUP list. And then on NFI is running back Christopher Brooks. So that is around the NFC North. And that's all the players in the NFC North right now that are on PUP list, NFI, or IR to start the season. So the Lions aren't looking too bad. The Minnesota Vikings, they're looking great, but they may have not started camp just quite yet.
So the big one for Chicago is like Ozzie Trapillo more than likely won't be back this year. Obviously, Noah Sewell, Kyler Gordon, and Shamar Turner are pretty big players for them. But, PUP, some of those players are going to get released. I'm surprised that they put Trapillo on PUP. Maybe he ends up transitioning to IR at some point, probably before cuts is my guess that they'll or maybe they cut him. I don't know. I doubt it. So he'll probably end up on IR. NFI, what's going on with TJ Edwards?
Yeah, I don't know. And their linebacker room, man, they're down 3 linebackers for Chicago.
So let me pull up the report that I have here and see if it says anything here for the Bears. Now it just says that they put him on NFI. Okay, Edwards coming back from the broken leg that he suffered late last season, expected to be ready relatively soon. And then as far as Shamar Turner's situation, it's less clear, but he's coming off the ACL from last year. Kyler Gordon was dealing with soft tissue issues, so more than likely he'll be back soon. That happened in OTAs, and then and they said that Gordon's injury is a little bit concerning because he missed 14 games and had 3 injuries last season, so he's been pretty banged up as a cornerback, pretty fragile. And then as far as Ozzie Trapillo, likely going to miss all the season. So again, I'm surprised on the PUP as opposed to just. Yeah, maybe they're going to give him a chance, but I don't know.
Didn't he blow out his ACL in the very last playoff game or something?
I think it was a patellar tendon.
Yeah,
I think he ruptured the patellar tendon. And then of course Sewell and Keyshawn Elliott. Really wasn't much information to find on either of them. So Bears obviously not starting off in a good way. Who else? We got the Packers. You mentioned Banks, Hayden, Hargrave, Kraft, and Musgrave. And I think that Kraft is coming back from a pretty major injury, isn't he?
Yeah, he had a ACL. So they also added Micah Parsons this morning.
Oh, well, yeah, expected, right?
Yeah. They just waited an extra day on him for some reason. I don't know why.
That could mean that maybe they wanted him to test a second time and see how he is.
Yeah.
See, maybe he went in for some treatment and just to kind of see where exactly that injury lies. For the season. No idea. But as far as all those guys, Kraft's coming back from an ACL, so that's a big one. Kamal Hayden had an ankle injury, and if you remember last year, I really liked Kamal Hayden coming out of the draft. The fact that he ended up in Chicago pissed me off. I think I did a video on him too. I really liked Kamal Hayden.
Well, he ended up in Green Bay, right?
Yeah. Did I say something else?
Yeah,
Chicago. I said Chicago. Yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, he had an ankle injury last year. This year. Kraft should be ready to go sometime by the end of August, is what they're expecting. And Devonta Wyatt, which is it's a big one for him. Zach Tom. Neither of them are on injury lists to start the year, so that's good for them, right? Not good for anybody else, but it's good for them. As far as Micah Parsons, like you said, wasn't listed on PUP right away, and I guess it was a formality that he was going to be added to the group. It says tomorrow, which they were already forecasting it was going to be today, and that was per Mike Garafolo. So yeah, I mean, interesting. As far as the Vikings, I didn't
nothing.
I didn't notice anything. Obviously. Nothing. Like you said, nothing. I haven't heard anything.
I'm going to look and see if they started camp yet.
So that means no excuses for McCarthy. Right? No excuses for McCarthy. Everybody should be starting camp today. I mean, all the vets have to report. There's a couple of teams, obviously, that started early because they're going to be playing in the Hall of Fame game. I still had a few tickets available to the Hall of Fame game if you guys are interested in going. I can get you guys connected with my guy. We have front row seats at the Hall of Fame game. I'm not going this year just because I just don't have enough time. But I really wanted to go. But we have front row in the Hall of Fame section. So right where everybody comes out of the tunnel, and right to my left is where all the Hall of Famers sit and eat dinner and watch the game. So it's a great place to potentially get autographs. It's a great opportunity to meet and greet players like Barry Sanders came up, shook my hand the one year that we had the Hall of Fame game. It was just it's a great opportunity. And so if you want to go, let me know and I can reach out to my guy and see if there's tickets still available. They're about $160 a piece, which isn't bad for where you're sitting, even though it's just a Hall of Fame game. But anyway, if you want to go, mailbag at rockdown.com is a good way to reach out to me. Or, of course, you can always leave a voicemail, 313-podcast. And please, I'm encouraging you guys, please, we're going to be starting a new segment this year. Leave us voicemails, okay? 313-podcast, 763-2278, 313-763-2278. Leave us a voicemail. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. Obviously, when we're live, I'm more than likely going to answer the phone if we have the call button on. But when we're not live, when I'm not doing anything, you can always call the show and leave a voicemail about whatever it is you want to talk about the Detroit Lions. Just know that I'm going to play it live during a show. And it's going to be your segment. So you can be 1 minute. I don't know how long the voicemail lasts. Maybe 2 minutes. I don't think it goes much longer than that. So get your topic in, right? Get whatever it is you want to say. And if you got to call back a second time to leave an additional voicemail, I will put it all together. And then we will highlight you. We will feature you in a show at least once a week with your voicemail. So 313-podcast, leave us a voicemail. And we'd love to have you as part of the show.
So the Minnesota Vikings report today for their training camp. And their rookies reported on the 26th.
Yeah, they started a little, they started about the same time the Lions did, right?
Yeah.
Didn't our rookies come in on the 25th?
Something 25th, 26th, and then all of our guys, they start today.
I had all my dates screwed up the other day.
They reported yesterday, and they start today.
Well, we're starting today, man.
We start.
Well,
today.
Our official day is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today is
tomorrow will be the first practice.
First practice tomorrow. So they're getting in and doing all their physicals, and I think the rookies have been out doing a couple of things. I can't imagine that they're just doing nothing, but maybe I don't really know. I don't really know. I would love to reach out to somebody to find out because I every year I like to know just how it works so I can become more educated on the whole process. We only know what they print, right? And so I want to learn more. All right, we're going to take a brief break. When we get back, we're going to get into what Tim Twentyman's talking about to open up training camp 2026 for your Detroit Lions right here on the Rise of Grind Morning Show. We'll be right back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uperlights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from Uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uperlights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit Uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from Uperlights.com.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to SportsSpider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportsSpider.com today, right after the show.
And we're back. And of course, don't forget, sign up for DetroitFootballJournal.com. That's DetroitFootballJournal.com, the home of DFJ Sports. We will be streaming live on Substack as well, and hopefully pick up some new viewers there. We're giving away at least a 30-day free trial. For right now, I think that the chat actually has a 60-day free trial. So if you do sign up today, I'll make sure you get the 60. I'll have to get that fixed. I gave away 6 months for a while there. I was giving away a lot of, hundreds of free accounts for all the new, followers and subscribers to DetroitFootballJournal.com. I just want to say thank you to everybody out there that has been supporting my publication, and hope you enjoy it. But we picked up a lot of new paid subscribers, and again, I want to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to end up in your mailbox. Tim Twentyman, man, what's he talking about? 5 players to keep an eye on. Eric, this is your topic this morning. Do you want to run through it?
Sure. So the first one, he's talking about edge DJ Wanham, his 5 players to keep an eye on for training camp, right? Well, Detroit revamped the edge rush room alongside All-Pro Aiden Hutchinson with the addition of Wanham and Peyton Turner in free agency and the drafting of Derek Moore in the second round of the draft. Wanham has good length and a couple 8-sack seasons to his credit. He is solid on the edge against the run. Wanham should see some one-on-one matchups playing across from Aiden Hutchinson. So it will be fun to watch what he does with those opportunities. And I was just looking him up on PFF here. Let's see. So I wanted to see, what was his best season. So his best season sack and tackle wise was 2023. And back in 2023 was when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. Okay. So this guy's been around. He's played for the Minnesota Vikings where he was drafted, the Carolina Panthers, and now with the Detroit Lions. So this is kind of the same arc that we had with another edge player the last couple of seasons with Mr. Davenport. He went to the Saints, or the Vikings, the Saints, the Vikings, and then to us. So another player the Vikings kind of gave up on. And he had 36 tackles in 2023 and 9 sacks. And he's had a couple of 8-sack seasons, but that was his best season. And his PFF grades were never super high, but his run defense grades seem to be in the 60s. So it's looking like run defense is where he's best overall. This is a guy that, will be able to set an edge, and he's not the big giant sack master that everyone's hoping he can be or wanting him to be. Fans, they only want sacks. They don't think about anything else. But sometimes you need an edge that can just collapse the pocket, keep the edge, and keep that running back from getting around the edge. Keep that mobile quarterback from getting around him. Let Aiden come and clean it up. Let whoever come and clean it up.
So as far as DJ Wanham goes, I think that he is highly underrated. I think a lot of fans don't think a lot of him. And I think that they think that, Derek Moore is just going to slide in and take his snaps. DJ Wanham, in my opinion, is going to be a player that is going to stand out this year. If he stays healthy, he's going to stand out this year in a big way. I'm excited to see, what he does. And I think that the biggest glaring change in roster year over year is you're starting to see the Lions add more length, more strength, guys that are a little bit more versatile off the edge, and even changing, Ahmed Hassan's position, right, to be a bigger edge when he's, really a speed edge. So I think the Lions have taken a look at what they're going to be running as far as the nickel, how they're going to be changing up the defense, and brought in the players that are going to be able to execute different schemes, right? And it's all going to look the same, kind of like the offense. And I think that's how I think, we won't have to manufacture as much, pressure this year when you have guys like DJ Wanham that is a little bit more versatile. Peyton Turner's another one. A lot of length. I mean, exactly what you're looking for in a prototypical edge. So I'm excited for both those guys. But DJ Wanham, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people this year. in having the deep rotation that we do, I think it's just going to be a breath of fresh air for everyone that's been pounding the table about edge for a long time. The Lions didn't go out and bring in a high-priced guy. They brought in the right guys. And I think, they've been trying to do that over the last couple of seasons. And had they all stayed healthy, I think that we would have had a much better output out of that position. But it takes the team to produce, man. If you're down in secondary, like the Lions were last year, they were dropping like flies. That really hurts the front seven, and vice versa. When you lose a lot of guys in the front seven, it really hurts the secondary. And I don't know how many more times I got to say that for people to really hear it, because it's a fact. Ask any defensive coordinator, ask any coach, ask any NFL analyst. They will tell you the same thing. Next up, Christian Mahogany.
So Mahogany, he played in 11 games. He started 11 games in 2025, and he allowed 4 sacks and 16 quarterback hurries. He took all the first-team reps at left guard in the open OTA practices and minicamp over the spring. With the addition of Ben Barch in free agency, Drew Scruggs coming over in the David Montgomery trade, and the return of Miles Frazier in his second season, Mahogany will have lots of competition for the starting role. The Lions will also see if Giovanni Manu can make the transition from tackle to guard. This, to me, is the one spot I am going to be watching with the most eyes. Like when I go to training camp, this is the guy I'm probably going to be watching the most. I want to see Christian Mahogany take a hold of this spot and never give it up. I want him to be our absolute starter. I don't want to be seeing anyone else taking first team reps. I want him to take the spot, own it, and have it be his, because that's a lot of competition. Ben Barch, Drew Scruggs, another huge guy, Miles Frazier coming on in year 2, and then Giovanni Manu coming out of left field, man. I really hope that Christian Mahogany can take the reins and never give it up. I just want him to be our day one starter.
I'm excited about Mahogany this year. I think that he has, a little bit left to prove. He's definitely facing that definitive make or break summer. As the Lions really have started with what is a fiery competition this year. That battle for that left guard spot, like you said, all eyes are on it, because there's a lot of really good players and players that still need to prove themselves. The 2024 6th round pick enters his 3rd year, and I think like this 3rd year of finally having 2 full off seasons in Detroit, knows what it takes, has been through all the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows on this offensive line. Last year, I think, was a giant learning year for a lot of guys, at least a lot of guys that are left in the offensive line. And I think that this role is still completely up for grabs. But if Mahogany can settle in and prove that, his raw power, that baseline of tenacity that really fits what Dan Campbell and Hank Fraley are looking for, being the dirt bag. Remember, he's called the dirt bag. I think that he fits the blueprint perfectly. And look, he's just another late round gem that Brad Holmes has found. But is that gem going to be polished this year? Right? When we were talking off air last night, you said it took a few months to polish a stone to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Look, the dirtbag has had a few years now, and he needs to be polished this year. He doesn't have to be perfect, but this offensive line is going through a lot of changes, and I think that Christian Mahogany needs to step up, and the competition behind him, Drew Scruggs, especially Ben Barch, Giovanni Manu. Look, they're pushing. They all want to play. They're going to be biting at his heels. He has to kind of be perfect, even though the rest of the line also needs to be complementary to him too, right? Penei Sewell will be fine. Cade Mays is a big upgrade over Graham Glasgow. Maybe not an experience, but I think from a youth perspective and his ability, and I think that both of those guys and their veteran leadership is going to help Christian Mahogany become a better left tackle. He can't hesitate, man. Mahogany has to do his job. And yes, like you, I want to see him win it outright. And I'm not putting any shade on anybody else. Look, I think Drew Scruggs is a hell of a player. I think Giovanni Manu is a very unique player. And I don't really know a ton about Ben Barch. He's had some snaps as a starter, but I don't think he's our answer. So Christian Mahogany, look, when he's doing his job, man, there's not a better blocker that I want to see there at the left guard right now, at least on this team. But we'll see where it goes. Next up, Ennis Rakestraw.
Yeah, and with Ben Barch, I'm kind of surprised that he didn't start on PUP because wasn't he injured in OTAs and did not participate in OTAs whatsoever?
That just means that he's healthy, right?
Okay,
That just means he's good to go.
Yeah, good. So Ennis Rakestraw. So this is a very polarizing player for Detroit Lions fans. So before I read what Tim Twentyman wrote about him, listen, I was a Ennis Rakestraw lackey from the very beginning. This kid came out of the gates looking really good. In his second game, he was named the starter. He went out for pregame warmups and pulled a hamstring, and that just derailed his rookie season. Then he comes out to training camp in his second season, is looking really good, and blows out his shoulder in training camp. And we were there for it. It was awful. Just to hear the guy scream, and he knew it was done for the season right when it happened. Had surgery the next day, and that was his second season. So it's been a bad luck first two seasons for the former first-round pick out of Missouri. For the former second-round pick out of Missouri due to injury. Rakestraw has played in just 8 games his first 2 seasons, missing all of 2025 with a shoulder injury. Now, with Terrion Arnold being released last month, Rock Ya-Sin, Rakestraw, and others are now competing for the number 2 cornerback spot opposite DJ Reed. There's no denying the talent when Rakestraw's been on the field, but can he stay healthy during training camp and make a run at a big role in Calvin Shepard's defense? I say yes. I think he can. By all reports, he's put on a few pounds of muscle this year. He's looking a little bigger. He was very frail, very small guy, very thin. But when we took this guy, what I envisioned was Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw being our 1-2 punch at corner. We don't have to worry about corner for the next 4 or 5 seasons. These guys are going to be a great tandem. You're going to have your number 1 and your number 2 corner for the foreseeable future. And man, did that blow up in our faces. Well, Brad Holmes, you call yourself the cornerback whisperer. Now it's time for Ennis Rakestraw to make him look like the cornerback whisperer again. It is time for you to show up. I know you had some injuries, but now is the time. This is the kid I want to see take the reins, take the job, and run with it. So I think he has all the talent in the world, just needs to put it together. What do you think, Will?
You know, I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, to a lesser degree, am I as confident about Ennis Rakestraw? I mean, he's immensely talented, right? He's a high aggression defender, but he's kind of this wild card, right? He's a wild card now in what is Calvin Shepard's defense. He's got to fight to stay on the field. You know, he's drafted at 61 overall in the 2024 NFL draft. And like you, yeah, at this point in his trajectory, you were expecting the 1-2 punch of having TA out there and Ennis Rakestraw out there probably leading the charge. And you know, the Lions have continually had to bring in vets, and I think that they will still continue to bring in vets. And I think it's a good plan, at least for the cornerback position, and to continue to draft good corners, or at least draft corners, period, every year. You know, he's dealt with core muscle injuries, hamstring injuries, and has had, I think, 9 appearances maybe in games since he was a rookie. But the unfortunate shoulder injury in training camp last year really wiped out his entire season. And he just hasn't been able to show us anything. So in 2026, finally entering this season, you know, finally healthy, will he be able to stay healthy? Like, that is the biggest question. And then you highlighted something, you know, about adding on a little bit more muscle and some bulk. And I think that was reflected by Deshea Townsend and even Calvin Shepard, that they noticed a change. I don't see it, right? But video and pictures can kind of look, you know, funny. Like, you're not going to see the whole picture. I at least know for me, every image and every video adds about 10 pounds. You know, when he was in college, though, last night I looked at some of his highlights. It just so happened to go through some of his stats too. He had 107 stops, 79 solo, 24 pass breakups, 8 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles and 1 interception. His best year was in 2022, where he had 12 PBUs, 4.5 TFLs, and 2 forced fumbles in 1 season. So is he the quintessential, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes style of a corner? Maybe. I think so, only because he's aggressive. But that aggressiveness can sometimes burn you. That aggressiveness can sometimes lead to injuries. He needs to play smart. But there's one thing about Ennis Rakestraw that I have noticed throughout his college career and even, early into his NFL career. He is fearless in the run game. Absolutely fearless. And that is what Dan Campbell, Calvin Shepard, and Brad Holmes expect. It's cover the run first as a corner. It's stop the run first as a corner, because you are kind of that last line of defense off the edge. And as much as we like to blame edge rushers for not stopping the run all the time, those corners need to be there to clean it up. Now if they're all the way downfield, they can't do much about it but come back, right? But he has good inside-out versatility. He definitely has some stickiness, underneath, and I just want to see him, finally put it together. Lightning fast feet, man. He does have really fast feet, so that should help him, stick with some of these faster receivers. And Rakestraw in year 3, is he going to do it, or will he just be a backup that can still do it? I'm hedging my bet on a backup right now. I think Rocky Sin's got that locked up. Malcolm Rodriguez.
Watch Ennis be a Pro Bowler. Okay, so Malcolm Rodriguez, the star, back when we were on the HBO show. Okay. He came out of nowhere. He took over that linebacker room. Well, Shepard has always considered Rodriguez Detroit's 4th starter at linebacker. Rodriguez now heads into his 5th season as the favorite to replace Alex Anzalone at the starting will spot. So the other day, I posted a picture of Alex Anzalone in his new Tampa Bay outfit.
Mm-hmm.
My God, I got like 500 comments on that because I said, this just looks wrong to me. And it does. It feels wrong that Alex is no longer on the team. But Rodriguez, he's played in 50 games with 25 starts over his first 4 seasons and has proven to be a consistent tackler and blitzer. How much will he fit in Detroit's plan defensively on passing downs? That will be something to watch early on, as the Detroit Lions may look to play more nickel defense this season after playing the most base defense in the NFL last year. And I agree with Will saying that we're going to have more 2 linebacker looks this year. So I think Malcolm has to have a really big year this year because he's only on a 1-year contract. So there is nothing guaranteed beyond this season for Malcolm Rodriguez with the Detroit Lions. And with them bringing in Rolder and a couple other linebackers this season, is this the end for Malcolm Rodriguez? Is this the last hurrah? Or is he going to come on and be a starter for the Detroit Lions and take over that Alex Anzalone role when we go with 3 linebackers? What do you think, Will?
Well, I mean, we do know this. The Lions just brought in another linebacker in Troy Reeder, which we discussed it briefly last night, and that looks like more of a special teams addition. He really hasn't played a ton of snaps over the last couple of seasons. And look, for Malcolm, were you in the show when I was talking about the 2 linebacker sets kind of taking over? Like that was my answer. I don't remember.
Yeah,
now.
I was watching.
Watching. That's right. You were watching that. Okay, I remember now. So when I went into that, like it just kind of like popped in my head last week that, there's been this conversation about the Lions linebackers that they haven't done enough to replace Alex Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez. I mean, is he a true will linebacker? No, he was a middle linebacker in college. Is he, the prototypical size for a will linebacker? I think he's a little bit small. He doesn't have the longer arms. He doesn't have immense speed. But he is a hell of a tackler. Right. And he's great in the run game, and he's super smart, and he knows where to be. And as we've discussed many times on this channel, that not every Lions player is going to have all the gifts, as far as, every single, metric or analytic or, intangible that you're looking for at every position. But the smart, the heady guys that know where to be, when to be there, that understand the defense, that can play cooperatively with the guys to the left, the right, and front and back of them, that's Malcolm Rodriguez. And I feel confident that he's going to fill a need that will be, I guess, filled through him playing intelligently, right? And we know what to expect out of Malcolm Rodriguez. We know what to expect each and every play out of Jack Campbell. And so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, the answer's right in front of us. Why didn't the Lions really go out and go get either a high-priced free agent or a well-known free agent, or try to draft another will linebacker? Because I don't think Jimmy Rolder's really that player either. He could definitely grow into that type of a player. But the point is, when you're playing a lot of nickel, you have two linebackers on the field primarily, and that's Jack and that's Barnes. So for that reason, I'm less concerned about the linebacker room. I think the depth there is going to be great for special teams. And when Malcolm is on the field in the 4-3 base, formations, I think he's going to do a great job. But it's what's behind them that I'm worried about, because you can have a perceived weakness at the will linebacker if you have Brian Branch behind you, right? That strengthens that position. Unfortunately, we don't have Brian. But we have Chuck Clark, who's going to play the post more likely. And we have Christian Izzian, who's probably going to play the strong safety. We have Avonte Maddox that could also slide into the strong safety or more of the post. Either way, there's just not enough behind Malcolm, I think, this year to feel comfortable. But I'm also expecting for us to be in more two linebacker sets this year. And I think that is going to erase the worry for a lot of fans when we're in nickel. 2026 training camp for Malcolm Rodriguez is the golden opportunity, I think, just like you said, for him to kind of reclaim his narrative after a very grueling rehab, after his injury, which really started to derail, where he was rising to. God, I can't remember what injury did he have? That was 2024.
ACL.
Was it ACL?
Yeah,
it was ACL. But anyway, I mean, that was a grueling injury. And what do I always say about the next year, right? The next year for these guys coming off a major injury is kind of a throwaway season. For just about any player. I mean, look at Aleem McNeil last year. He didn't have the greatest comeback, but he also got injured again, very early into his comeback. But Aiden Hutchinson was probably the only one out there that really exceeded at such a high level, exceeded expectations at a high level last year after a major injury. At the end of the day, look, Malcolm, I think, is going to fit a need. I don't think he's the long-term solution. I know he's not the long-term solution, but I also think that he'll probably stick around even as a practice squad guy, or as a role player, as that sixth guy on the, in the linebacker room. His trajectory, it's been emotional for him. It's been an emotional roller coaster, elite instinctual play. He had a 22 rookie year that really broke through. Like you said, I mean, he was the darling of the HBO stars. Calvin Shepard was consistently calling everybody out in that room that you've got a rookie over here that is outplaying all of you because he understands the defense. He started 15 games his rookie season, 87 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble. He took Jason Kelsey and whiplashed him with a WWE body slam in the Eagles game. One of the most epic plays that I've ever seen in a long time. But he's also a Swiss Army knife. And we know that about Malcolm. Like he's in a hybrid role. He's appeared in all 17 games of 2023. He even flashed the versatility by taking some snaps at fullback in 2023. In 2024, look, ACL, disaster. It threw him off his game. 2025, you could see he wasn't the same. But is he forgotten? I don't think so. I think that Malcolm's on the comeback. I don't think he's a long-term answer, but I'm excited he's back on the team. He's not a replacement for Alex Anzalone. There's not another replacement for Alex Anzalone. All right, last but not least. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's also one heck of a special teamer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Isaac Tesla.
Yeah. Mr. Isaac Tesla. So Tesla has the kind of size, body control, and hands that could make him an interesting weapon in the Lions offense, especially if he sees one-on-one coverage playing along with Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game. Tesla had 6 touchdowns as a rookie and proved to be a very dangerous weapon in the red zone. He worked on improving his quickness and release at the line of scrimmage and his route running this offseason. If he can take the next step in his development, this could be the best collection of skill weapons in the NFL. And this is what I'm going to say personally about Isaac Tesla. I think that Tesla may have less touchdowns this year, but he may have a much better season for the Detroit Lions this year. He may get more balls thrown his way from the 20 to the 20 instead of just down in the end zone this year. Because you're going to have some other red zone threats like Sam Laporta. And Sam Laporta is going to be taking those balls away from Isaac Tesla. If Sam Laporta is back 100% healthy, ready to go, this isn't a throwaway season for him, and he can make things happen like he did before. That is Jared Goff's security blanket. That's what Isaac Tesla kind of turned into last year, running a few tight end type of routes, and he was that big body guy that he could throw the ball up to. So I see Tesla having more yards, more catches than last year, and maybe having more of a role in the offense, but maybe having only 4 or 5 touchdowns this year. So that is my kind of bold call about Isaac Tesla this year. What do you think, Will? Is he going to have more touchdowns than 6 or less?
I was a little taken aback when you said that he's going to have less than 6. I mean, Isaac Tesla last year was what was the mystery, right? I mean, a lot of Lions fans melted down. A lot of content creators melted down when Brad Holmes traded 3 third-round picks to move up to take some kid from a small school, took a flyer on what now in 2026 could be a legitimate breakout candidate. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. I don't know if he's bulked up at all this year. But he played, for Arkansas. He transferred from, what was it, Hillsdale College or something like that, or yes, Hillsdale College. But people have been calling him Vanillatron, and that's because of his size and quite honestly, the acrobatic catches that he made as a rookie. 6 touchdowns, 16 catches. I think he was targeted 22 times or something like that. It was something crazy, low number. But this year, given the fact that I think he's going to be the wide receiver 3. Without a doubt, has great speed at 4.4, right? Has great size, has great length. His body control is what makes me excited about his development this year. I haven't seen a player with that kind of body control since Odell Beckham, graced us with that crazy one-handed upside-down catch that he did as, I think it was a rookie or a second year that he did that a while ago. That might have been 2015 or something like that.
That's a long time ago.
Long time ago. But, look, his stat line wasn't crazy last year with only 239 yards, but I think you have to look at the efficiency. Like, when he was targeted, he caught the ball. In like the first 3 catches or something like that, he caught the ball with one hand. And he caught 2 touchdowns with his first 2 catches. So I think that, he's a chunk play threat. I think he's a red zone efficiency threat. And I think that his stat line is going to improve. I think that I would give him at a minimum 7 touchdowns. We'll just put 1 above him. I'll give him a minimum of 7, but look for him to have 10 TDs this year. I wouldn't be surprised. And if you don't draft him in your fantasy leagues, I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, if you can, handcuff Amon-Ra St. Brown and Isaac Tesla, or Jamison Williams and Isaac Tesla, those are great handcuffs this year. Because if one of those players is not having a great game, you can bet the fact that Isaac Tesla is going to be having a good game, or Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be having a good game in the passing concept. So, 14.9 yards per reception last year. 29 yards was his longest of the season. He proved to be lethal as a scoring weapon. You said 20 to 20. I see, and remember my catchphrase: forget the end zone, go to the red zone. I think that is Isaac Tesla in a nutshell. That, at the 30-yard line, they're going to look at targeting him, early in the plays where everyone else is going to clamp on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. I think Isaac Tesla is going to slip by everybody, and you start to see more Sam Laporta Tesla targets from the 30-yard line. That's my call of the year for those 2 players. I think that they're going to see a ton of targets right around the 30-yard line. We'll find out. We'll kind of track it throughout the year. There's one other player that I want to add to this, and so I'm going to read an email here. Let me get it in front of me. So Attila sent in a mailbag statement, and he was talking about Sam Laporta. And I think that Sam Laporta is definitely a big name to watch. I'm surprised he didn't land on Tim Twentyman in his 5 players to watch, which by the way, last article provided by Tim Twentyman at the Detroit Lions. But here's what Attila had to say. He said last season's metrics highlight Sam Laporta's significant impact on the Detroit Lions. With Laporta, the Lions went 6-3 and averaged 31.4 points per game. Without him, they were 3-5 and averaged 24 points per game. The Lions have averaged 31 points per game with Laporta compared to 24 points per game without him throughout his career. A consistent 7-point difference. So 1 touchdown a game difference without Sam Laporta. To end the season, the Lions lost 4 of 5 games by 7 or fewer points. Food for thought.
Yep.
While Laporta was sidelined. The team holds a 32-10 record with him in the lineup compared to 4-5 without him. That is a huge difference. This disparity was even more pronounced against division rivals, where the Lions averaged 29.6 points per game with Laporta, but only 17.6 points per game without him. Laporta's absence also significantly impacts the rushing attack. His elite run blocking creates a stark difference in the ground game, most evident in star running back Jahmyr Gibbs' advanced metrics. Gibbs recorded a plus 30% DVOA, second among all running backs, with Laporta on the field, which plummeted to minus 18.9% DVOA, 57th without him. Additionally, Laporta's blocking allowed Gibbs to average 3 yards before contact per attempt compared to just 1.4 yards without him. Great email from Attila. Appreciate you dropping it in the mailbag. And don't forget, if you want to get your email read, please email mailbag@rockdot.com or take that, turn it into a voicemail, and call 313-PODCAST, and we will highlight your voicemails and your mailbag questions or statements all season long right here on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It's 9:34. We'll be right back after this brief break.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Take it
sir.
down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice job.
Hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs through the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the end zone!
Yes.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! He did not quit!
Nice job.
Off to throw again, does, middle, J-Mo, angling to the end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! J-Mo flips into the end zone for 6.
Nice job. You talking about gut punch up the middle, then talking about tossing it on the edge, and once you get him out on the edge, Sonic is gone.
Inside the 20, inside the Hutchinson, he goes down again!
All right, and we're back. I'm not back. What the hell happened? Where'd I go? Can you hear me, Eric?
Yeah, you went to the darkness, man.
What in the world? That's kind of odd. Do you have something else to get us in while I figure out what the heck just happened?
Yeah, I can read a little bit of.
I see what happened here. Somehow my camera got switched. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that back.
Oh man!
All right, yeah, just bless us with something for a moment.
You're in the dark. So
there we go.
Hey, there he is. He's back.
See, it's not me, man. Shit just happens. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I really don't get it. Go ahead, man. What were you going to say?
all right. So there's a few NFL headlines that I can go over. So Vita Vea, the standout defensive tackle, has officially requested a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after a contract extension talk stalled. He is reportedly eyeing a move to the West Coast or California. So Jamal Adams, the veteran safety who once played with the Lions a year or so ago, has now signed with the Minnesota Vikings for his 10th NFL season. Daniel Jones, the Colts quarterback, is fully cleared from his previous Achilles tear and is expected to be a full participant at the start of training camp. Now, some off-the-field news. Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers head coach, is recovering from multiple broken bones and a concussion sustained in a recent car accident, which is expected to limit his physical duties early in training camp. The Washington Commanders, the team has parted ways with their tight ends coach following his recent arrest on suspicion of driving while intoxicated. And then finally, the Madden NFL 2027 99 Club came out and two players made it. They got a 99 rating, and those two players were quarterback Josh Allen and Myles Garrett. And that's your Around the NFL in about 30 seconds.
You know, I guess continuing on with the NFC North there and some of the latest NFL news. And by the way, Kyle Shanahan, man.
Yeah, bummer.
What a bummer to say the least. We talked about it last night, and I mean, what a heartbreak. The fact that they kept a lid on that whole thing and it didn't leak anywhere it tells you how strong of a core that they really have. From the front office to everybody inside, that team organization, the 49ers. But Kyle Shanahan, wishing you nothing but the best, man. Hope that he heals up and gets back to the field sooner rather than later. Division snapshot, for the NFC North, I guess kind of continuing to go around the league a little bit. The Chicago Bears, they returned to the playoffs finally in 2025. First year head coach Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, if you want to say blossomed a little bit last year with some thriller plays, but I wasn't impressed. 58% completion rate, hovered around 52% for the majority of the season, had a fourth place schedule. I just don't really see them bouncing back this year and having as much success. They had 11 wins last year playing a fourth place schedule, where the rest of us in the league had 9 wins, right? I don't see them having 10 wins this year. I don't see the Bears, giving Caleb Williams a third center, 3 straight years, just having the success that they think that they're going to have. The Green Bay Packers, obviously they're looking to rebound, heartbreak last year, but they've got to do it, heartbreak with Micah Parsons, but they have to do it now without, so they have to do it with the new defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, after Jeff Hafley left to take the Miami Dolphins head coaching job. Obviously, Micah Parsons is still recovering, won't be ready for the start of the season after tearing his ACL. As for the Minnesota Vikings, look, it all comes down to the quarterback thing. We talked about it earlier, but J.J. McCarthy, he failed to justify the team's investment so far. And then Kyler Murray. He's going to have to battle McCarthy. I don't think this is much of a battle, but Justin Jefferson's got to be just pissed, right? He's got to be pissed that his career, in the prime of his career, he may stall out because of the quarterback situation. Does he ask for a trade? If things aren't going well in camp, does Justin Jefferson raise his hand and say, I want out? And then for the Lions, Look, we need the biggest bounce back. We're playing a fourth place schedule for the first time in a few seasons. We missed the playoffs in 2025. We should have went to the playoffs. David Montgomery traded to the Texans. Alex Anzalone walks out through the door to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Dan Campbell struggled to replace Johnny Morton. Struggled to replace Ben Johnson. And unfortunately, Johnny Morton turned our what was the highest, most powerful offense in the league into a shit show at times. And even though we still finished as the second highest scoring team in the league, it just wasn't enough. But now we have Drew Petzing. Jared Goff is going to be able to do what he does every year, and that's put up ungodly stats. Star-studded offense all over the field. I think the Lions have the best advantage having Dan Campbell. I mean, Eric, when's the last time you could honestly say that you weren't worried about going into an offseason, changing a coach and changing a GM? This is a 6th straight season for the Lions to have a head coach and a GM in place. 6 straight seasons. First time done since when?
Since the
Wayne
80s?
Fonts?
Before that. We might have had a GM change during Wayne Fonts. I don't remember. He might have made it 6 years.
I'm going to look it up.
Because Wayne Fonts was 6 or 8 years. Yeah, it's stability. It's something we never friggin' had. It didn't matter who the owner was, whether it was Martha or whether it was Mr. Ford himself, or his son acting as the owner. Every single time it was, let's change the GM, let's change the coach, let's change the GM, let's change the coach. It was just constant for so many years, for 40 years. And then now you get Sheila Ford Hamp in, and everything is different. She's picked one GM, one coach, and off we go.
It was Wayne Fonts. According to this research, it says before, obviously, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, the last time that the Lions had the same head coach and GM duo for at least 6 consecutive seasons was 1989 to 1996. They had general manager Chuck Schmidt, who held that role from 89 to 2000, and then Wayne Fonts, who was the head coach from 89 to 96. So Schmidt and Fonts worked together for 8 straight seasons. 8 straight. So that's the number to beat right now, is 8 straight seasons. Will the Lions get there? There's one thing that we haven't talked about in a while. Mm-hmm. Why haven't Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes been extended? Because their contracts are coming up.
Yeah.
Why do you think?
They were once,
but remember, their contracts are coming up.
I have no doubt they will both be retained.
You think so?
Yep. I don't think either one wants to go anywhere.
I doubt that they want to go anywhere, but I'll say this, and I think that the Lions sent a clear message, this year. Obviously, their theme is they're focused, right? They're refocused, and so they made some changes with even media access, and I think that coaches and GMs, they probably get sick of the noise, right? They get sick of the noise. I mean, it's part of the job description. You know that you're going to get criticized. You know that, you're always under the microscope. But I think that, in Detroit, what has happened for so long is that the fans just run these people out of town, before maybe sometimes that the owners want to make a change. It is so bad at times, the toxic media, that I feel it could be enough to push them out of Detroit. If we don't win a Super Bowl before their contracts are up, but we make the playoffs every year, let me throw a scenario out, because Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are both under contract for 1 more year after this year. 2027 is the last year they're under contract. If we make the playoffs this year, let's say we go to the NFC Championship game. Maybe we fail to get into the Super Bowl. It's just a theory. I'm not saying it's going to happen. And then the next year, let's just say we make it to the playoffs, but we failed to get to the NFC Championship game. Do you think that they're extended at the end of 2026 if that happens, or do you think that they're going to wait until the following year? What gets them extended, I guess, is the question.
I don't think they need to do anything to get extended. Just look at our history. You tell me another coach and GM that has done better than Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They're the right people for the job. Why they don't? I'm sure that they've had talks. I'm sure their agents are taking care of things. I don't think it's an issue. I don't even think it's a problem whatsoever. They'll probably get done sometime this preseason or before the season even starts. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that they both got extended and it happened 6 months ago and they're just now reporting it. Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
So Arthur Fonzarelli says, I would argue they have more job security than about any other GM and head coach in the entire NFL right now. Yep. And look, I think you're spot on. But I guess I'm asking the question because the Lions want to do more, right? They want to do more. The expectation is playoffs every year. The expectation is to bring a Super Bowl home. If they don't win a Super Bowl this year with one more year left on their contract, I don't think they'll be extended this year. I think that the announcement for an extension won't happen until the offseason. I think this is the year that really decides on whether or not Brad and Dan want to stay or whether or not Sheila is willing to extend them a little bit longer. And I think the other thing that has to happen is the management of the personnel, because they have this logjam coming. Like, it's coming. You can only chop so many trees and send them down the river before you have a logjam. The Lions contract situation with these players and what's about to happen with Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta and Brian Branch, that's a big problem when you have to manage the other players that are right behind them, right? How much longer can they really keep this team together and maintain, going to the playoffs and winning a lot of football games? I think at some point next year, this is my call for next year right now, one of our premier guys is going to be gone. One. And I'm saying one of the signed guys currently will be gone. One of the extended guys on their second contracts will be gone next year. I'm not going to say who just yet, but one will be gone.
If I had to guess, it'd be Kirby. And I love Kirby.
Oh, no. Okay, throw Kirby out the window. He doesn't count. He doesn't count because he's
a different one.
Yeah, he's going through injury. But I think that
I think that might be what bites him.
Well, it could. I don't think it bites him. I think that's going to show the pivot. Like, can they continue to win by losing one of their stars? And can they replace that star, with somebody else that maybe they've drafted, or can they replace that star through free agency? I would say this. It makes no sense to replace one through free agency unless it is a significant discount and you're getting similar output. If you just get, or if you get a lot of draft picks for one of these players, and then you're able to draft, better players in the first round, let's say, then I think that's a good pivot. But I don't like the free agency aspect of where you got to go out and find a replacement for something that you lost. I think it's stupid. Just keep your player. Try to figure out a way to renegotiate the contract. And if you can't do any of that, then you got to get rid of them, because it's a business at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying I want to lose anybody. I'm just saying the business part of this kind of sucks at times. It really does. And you're welcome, Attila. But like I said, I want to follow through on my commitment to the fans. I want to read your text. I want to read your emails. You can text too. I'll read those too. And then I want to share your voicemails, man. The rest of the fans want to hear from you. Every other show, a national show, they try to highlight the fans, and that's what I want to do here. It's always about bridging the fans to the team. and creating a connection that is more than just surface level talking, Lions football. I want you guys to be heard. That is the whole focus. It's always been the whole focus. So let's do it. Don't be afraid to call in. Don't be afraid to leave a voicemail, and don't be afraid to send an email. Just know that unless you tell me in the email or in the voicemail, don't share it. I'll share it. Okay, so that's the only agreement between us on that. What you
There's
got?
one in the chat, Raymond Romano. We need to bring in a QB with skills. You must be watching the wrong show, buddy.
Bring in a QB with skills.
God, listen, Jared Goff is in the top 5 for every statistical quarterback over the last 5 seasons. There's hardly any other quarterback with the stats that Jared Goff has for wins, for touchdowns, for interceptions, for yards, you name it. He's top 5 in almost every single category. You're not going to find a better quarterback anywhere else. You're just not going to bring in a better quarterback to the Detroit Lions. He is what the Detroit Lions, the whole offense is built around him. It's for him. It's not for a mobile quarterback. It's not built for someone running around like a chicken with their head cut off. It's not built for Josh Allen. We don't have Josh Allen. It's not built for Lamar Jackson. We don't have Lamar Jackson. We have Jared Goff, who is more in the vein of a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning, that sits back in the pocket, dices up the defense, figures out what's going on, and gets the pass where it needs to go with touch and with anticipation, not running around scrambling and making the highlight plays that may get you on the cover of Madden. But I don't care if any of our players are ever again on the cover of Madden. I don't care about the cover of Madden. I want to win Super Bowls.
So I don't know what other skills you would be looking for, because, to just kind of echo what Eric said, Jared Goff has won more games than anybody else in the NFL in the last 5 seasons. He's had more yards than pretty much any other quarterback in the NFL in the last 5 seasons. He's had more touchdowns, nowhere near as many as interceptions. He's produced Hall of Fame players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? And Jamison Williams, who started out really slow, is progressing big time. Jared Goff is exactly who you want. Jared Goff has every skill outside of running, and he beat Lamar Jackson last year. Joe Burrow wasn't in the Bengals game, but he's beaten just about every quarterback out there. He's beat Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's beat everyone.
Yep.
So I don't know who else you would really want to bring in, because it's all about relationships. If your quarterback and your star offensive players don't have a good rapport and relationship, it doesn't matter how many skills that quarterback has. And this offense is designed around having a pocket quarterback that is on perfect timing. And that is what Jared Goff is so good at. So I don't know what other skills, but please do us a favor. When you make a statement like that, back it up with what skills you are looking for. Back it up with some stats that tell us what it is you're looking for. Because a blanket statement like that, it doesn't work. And it's hard for us to kind of, talk about it if we don't know exactly what you're looking for. But the one thing you'll get from us is facts, man, and stats and facts that back up, the opinions in the conversation. So let us know what it is.
Yeah. And the bottom line, we're Lions fans. We are. And that was my whole thing in coming on this show in the beginning. I was just a Lions fan. That was it. I never came into this looking to be anything other than a Lions fan. And I'm turning into, a little bit of a podcaster, but 99% of it, I am a Lions fan, man. So when somebody talks smack and says they want to get rid of a player, especially like Jared Goff, who's been a Pro Bowler, who's been in the MVP conversation, who had votes for MVP last season. He went to the show. He didn't get MVP, but he was in the conversation when he went 9-8. He was in the conversation when we went 15-2. And he was in the conversation the year before when we went 12-5 and went to the NFC Championship game. So,
hold on, we got someone calling. Let's see who it is.
All right.
Thanks for calling Rock Down Detroit Lions. Who it is? Oh, dude, you got to call back. Sorry. Call back. I hit the wrong button.
Yeah. Plus, I got to get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so it's at the 10 o'clock hour. Hey, you guys, I'm really glad to see you guys. I'm going to be off next week. I'm going to see my kid out in Iowa. So I'll be back the following week. I'll start being on more 3, 4, or 5 days a week, depending on the week. And then I will be gone for 1 week in September for the Bills week. But yeah, I'm going to be on a lot more. Hopefully back to 5 days a week soon. And love my Rocked On family. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Hey, Eric, do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Go back and watch the very first podcast that you appeared in.
All right.
And then go back and rewatch today's, because you've graduated. You're always going to be the Lions fan at heart.
Yeah, I'm still the Lions fan.
But and you might be a little bit of a homer still too, but that's okay. But you have graduated so far beyond what you're calling yourself, dude. You do a damn good job. So we'll see you next week,
awesome.
buddy. All right.
Thanks, man. You too.
All right, bye-bye. All right, I think it's Rob B that's on the line. What's happening, man?
Hey, how you doing? I'm
Good.
just reading your chat here and
Was that you?
seeing a lot of different wild things.
Hold on, was that you that just called?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Just reading the chat, we've seen a lot of different wild things. Trade Aleem McNeil, Jared Goff needs to be replaced. Like, I don't understand. Talks about trading JMO. Like, Jared Goff, like, to your guys' credit, like, Jared Goff has been doing what Jared Goff was brought in to do. And that's dissect defenses, move the ball around effectively with a high completion rate, which is exactly what you want your quarterback to do. Aleem McNeil really put his game together in 2023, but we saw the effect when 2024 when we brought in Zadarius Smith to kind of help tone his pass rushing attack. He was a great run stopper, but when Zadarius Smith came in, he really helped hone his ability to attack the pocket and get after the quarterback. And that was evident. Like in 2024, Dallas tried to put Zach Martin up against Aleem McNeil one-on-one. That didn't work. Zach Martin is going to be a Hall of Famer as one of the best left guards to play the game. He couldn't contain Aleem McNeil one-on-one. They had to bring in extra help to contain Aleem McNeil. Does Aleem McNeil affect every play? Maybe not. But because he plays DT, he's never going to acclimate the credit he deserves because you got Aiden Hutchinson right beside him. And those two are playing side by side, and both those dudes are healthy. Those two feed off each other so well, and it opens Aiden up for his one-on-ones that we need Aiden to win, and Aiden's been very good at winning.
I'm going to follow up on Aleem McNeil in just 1 second. Give me 1 second. You keep on going. I gotta type something out real quick.
And then you have the whole we should trade JMO conversation in the chat, and that's just absolutely ludicrous to me. You want to see the JMO effect? Go watch Sam Laporta highlights. Go watch Amon-Ra St. Brown highlights. Go watch Khalif Raymond when he's on the field. Watch Demo highlights. You can watch Gibbs highlights. The defense isn't worried about what routes JMO can or cannot run. They're worried about where he's going and minimizing the one-on-one exposure against JMO. because he's that much of a dynamic threat with the ball in his hands. J-Mo's so quick, he can't run a 10-yard curl route because by the time he gets to the 10-yard mark to curl in, the defender barely moved because they can't run lateral with him. So they're just kind of playing underneath that cushion to where that benchmark is, where he's potentially going to be, and to see if they can pick off an underthrown ball or get a hand on an underthrown ball to prevent the ball to get into his hands. Like, I don't understand the fascination of trying to trade all of our dynamic pieces because the fans are unhappy with the production. A lot of people bring up statistics as a way of proving a point. Statistics only tell 1/3 of the story. They tell you what happened. They don't tell you why it happened, and they don't tell you how it happened.
Exactly.
They just tell you why. What?
Exactly.
And if you really want to understand, like I understand, like you understand, you have to combine statistics with game tape. That's the only way you're really going to comprehend how the anomaly of how and why, not just the what.
So let's back up for a second. I really wanted to, I guess, kind of talk about all these guys for a moment. Ali McNeil, like to understand why Ali McNeil is elite, and to your point about stats being about 1/3, there's a few elements to when you know how you break down a player. Obviously, you have to watch the film. But the stats you have to marry up to the film. But there's another part of watching the film or watching the game. Even if you don't watch film, you can at least watch the game to see, you know, kind of what's happening. It's that other third is what other players are doing. How many other players are injured? How is the defense affected by players that are missing out of the defense? How did that change that player's ability or lack of ability in that game? How are offenses able to dictate if it's, you know, a defensive player that you're studying, or, you know, vice versa? How are defenses able to dictate, you know, against your offense if you're missing players? So all of those things are part of the workup, right? You understand that. I understand that. A lot of people understand that, but there's also a few that watch the game, they look at the stats, and they don't study anything, they don't read anything, and then they make these blanket statements. And I'm not calling anyone out in the chat. I'm just having a conversation here. And that's where these hot takes come from. You know, that's where, you know, the fans get all bent sideways about players because they believed in what somebody said, but it wasn't backed by any fact. So to understand why Ali McNeil is elite, I think that you have to look at, you know, the physical evolution of him first. He entered the league as a 330-pound run stuffer. He was never brought in to be a pass rushing defensive tackle. But he completely, he re-engineered his body to become more dynamic. He was a penetrator as a 3-tech. He didn't start as a 3-tech. He earned the ability to be a 3-tech. He was brought in as a nose. He has elite traits, combination of a really good combination of natural, low center of gravity, good leverage, freakish first step off the snap, good power. I mean, when he's healthy, he doesn't just eat double teams and that's it. I mean, he does that, but he also frees up edge rushers. He frees up the linebackers. He collapses the interior, and he forces quarterbacks to get off their spot. However, you also have to have the defense called right for players to execute at a high level. You have to have certain defensive calls to help a defensive tackle if you're expecting them to get after the passer. And oftentimes, these guys aren't asked to really penetrate. They're asked to stick and stay and stuff the run in that, eat up those two holes right there. And that's why we play gap and half defense. We did. I don't know if we're changing that this year, but we'll find out. The peak of Aleem's career so far really was 2023. I think it was his best year, maybe even into 2024 before his injury. But 2023, that was the year that I think it really put the entire league on notice that Brad made the right choice. He was finishing the season. He had five sacks. Yeah, it's not overwhelming number of sacks, but it was in 13 games. He wasn't just compiling stats. He was consistently winning the one-on-one matchups. So when you watch the tape, is he winning one-on-ones or is he losing one-on-ones? Not many can beat double teams, but he was winning one-on-ones. And his breakout performance that year led to him being like a top 15 defensive tackle for most of the season. He was edging towards becoming a top 10 that year. And there was a lot better, DTs in the league in 2023 than there were today. When you look at where he ranks, across the league today, I think that, yeah, he's paid, a lot of money, but I think it's commensurate to his talent. I think it's commensurate to his ability. Yeah, he's not the highest paid, but he was the fourth highest paid defensive tackle at one point. I don't know where he ranks right now. But as far as where he's going in 2026, I think that the elephant in the room is simple. He had a knee injury. He tore an ACL week 15 of 2024. Last year was a bad year. He only had one sack. He re-injured himself when he got back into the game last year. And his PFF grade was terrible. And that's another thing. You talk about stats, Raw. PFF are not the stats to look at. You have to look at the advanced measure. PFF is trash. The more and more we get into it, we're finding that PFF they're just throwing crap together. Now, the basic stats, they're there. Like, you can't fake the basic stats. But these other analytics that they put together that are their proprietary analytics, they're not 100% accurate. And that's why Sports Info Solutions that I came across last year is one of the sites that I'm transitioning to kind of walk away from PFF as much as possible. Obviously, I'm never going to be able to totally walk away from it, but there's a lot to be said on choosing the right stats too. But Ali McNeil is dominant when he needs to be dominant. He just has to be healthy, and you're not trading a guy right now that just is making the money that he's making. I think that, again, like I said, next year you're going to see a change. Not that I want the change, but I think for the team to grow and the team to continue to grow, you're going to have to lose a contract. Anything you want to retort to that?
I think everything you said is pretty much spot on. I would argue that Ali McNeil does beat double teams.
He does
consistently, but he does expose when a center's late to getting to him, or a running back comes in to try and help the guard with a chip. Like, that's Ali McNeil's eating that up all day long, and he's going right through it.
Hold on one sec, because there's something that I forgot to say, and I want to shout out 4th and 60 real quick, because if you remember back in 2024 when Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg, it was Aleem, and according to 4th and 60, he says Aleem carried the defensive line after the Hutch injury in 24 up until he got hurt. And that is a spot-on take, because I forgot about how
I referenced that many times.
Yeah, I forgot about it when I was just talking about Aleem, because it was so important to that season that there was nobody left in 2024. It was
15-2.
Oh, 15-2. Yeah, it was Jack Campbell that was left in the middle of that defense. It was Jack and Aleem, and then it was Jack. Everybody else was gone. How do you go 15-2?
Practice squad players.
Yeah, we had 3rd, 4th stringers, guys coming off of other teams. So that's a big time play. 4th and 60.
That's a big time play.
All right, let me get into Jared Goff for a moment. So, we always hear every year, it seems like, that Jared Goff's not good enough. And then when you look at the stat line, you could argue that he's an elite top 5 quarterback in the league just by looking at the stat line, right? ESPN's list is wrong. But it's what else does he do? I think the question you have to answer about any player is, how do they help their team win? What is it that they do that helps their team win? Because it's not just about putting up stats, right? Matthew Stafford was the king of having all the stats in the world, but no W's at the end of the night. Jared Goff has all the stats in the world, and he has the W's to back it up, right? And so for Jared Goff, he's absolutely a premier quarterback in the NFL right now, and he has been for the last 3 seasons. He essentially has been just an absolute machine over the last 3 seasons. Between 23 and 25, he's thrown for a staggering 13,768 yards, 101 touchdowns. He has not dipped below 4,500 passing yards in each of those 3 seasons. That's pretty insane when you combine that with a 69.1 combined completion percentage and 104.8 passer rating. Those are insane numbers that just don't happen, right? You have to be somebody.
Let me throw you a curveball here.
Sure.
And this is what the Goff haters are saying. But all he does is dink and dunk and throw short.
That's not true either. So Jared Goff, over the last 3 seasons, but specifically I'll talk about last year, in all passes, explosive passes of 20, 30, 40, and 50 yards, he was ranked either number 2 or number 3 in every metric last year for passes completed over all those ranges. And he was number 1 in a couple of them. So explain to me how he's dinking and dunking. And so when you look at those metrics, it's not throwing it 3 yards and getting 17 yards of yak. These are air yards. And so, yeah, you might see a lot of dinking and dunking, but that's not Jared Goff. That's the West Coast offense, and that's what the play was called. Jared Goff can't throw the ball 10 yards if all your players are running 0 to 7 yard routes. That's not Jared Goff. Correct. You know what I mean? That's the play call. And then you have to take what the defense gets you. I'd rather have a quarterback that, can stay in there for 3 seconds, take the lick, deliver the ball, and jump right back up and go do it again. The clutch factor for me with Jared Goff is the fact that he is so reliable. He is so durable. The empty stats between the 20s, they don't make you a premier quarterback, right? From 20 to 20, he's crazy. Like, he's just lighting it up. But Goff gets it done on the money downs. Since 2023, Jared Goff ranks first among all NFL quarterbacks with 33 touchdowns on third down. So somebody please stop me, because now Jared Goff's got me lit up. I'm on fire. What do you got to say to that? What's your retort?
I was throwing you an alley-oop there with the whole Jared Goff only dink and dunks, and you ran away with it. That was awesome.
Yeah,
because that's what the naysayers' biggest credit for him is. He's not mobile, and all he does is dink and dunk. Of course, his accuracy numbers are high. Well, the opposite side of that is he's taking what the defense has given him. I don't know if this was the year I realized Jared Goff wasn't a bridge quarterback, is when we traded for him, his first year. I watched him throw that ball around to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was making plays. He wasn't making plays because he's just a dynamic playmaker who's quick and shifty. He was making plays because of the ball placement that Jared Goff was giving him the opportunity to make a catch. He was able to shrug off tackle while catching the ball and then get down the field for an extra 5, 10, 15 yards. That's a credit to Amon-Ra St. Brown's ability as a playmaker, but that's also a credit to Jared Goff's pinpoint accuracy and giving him an opportunity to do more with what he's been given.
Absolutely.
You look at quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, who's basically been labeled a wide receiver killer because his throws are wildly inaccurate. He puts the ball too high, and he puts his receivers at risk while trying to make a play. And that's not what Jared Goff's been doing. He's had one of the healthier wide receiver cores since he came to Detroit. Even in L.A., his wide receiver cores were always healthy because of his accuracy. He's not getting his guys killed with blindside hits from bigger players like linebackers and safeties coming down to make a play.
Dude, hold on, because what you're saying,
that's a big-time play,
is probably the most underrated, talked about point in the NFL. When you talk about health of a receiver, everything that you just said, I'm going to have to go back and clip it out now, because when your players are able to stay healthy, it's for 2 reasons. Well, multiple reasons, but either they've done the work in the off season, they're doing the work during the season, they're taking care of their body. But a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of receivers get injured because they get hung out to dry. Now, the NFL took away the hits over the middle, right? You can't hit a defenseless receiver. It still happens. And the flag doesn't fly enough. But Jared Goff doesn't put his receivers in harm's way. That is a spot-on call. I couldn't agree more. I think it's another dynamic level of his ability to not only see the field, process in a crazy fast amount of time. 3 seconds is a blink. And then to know that your quarterback's not in harm's way. It's not looking at the receiver and saying, okay, there's nobody around them. No, it's the pre-snap recognition of the defense and knowing where all of those defenders are supposed to be when you fling the ball. Because you're not looking down your receiver and then saying 1, 2, 3, okay, out. No, you've looked all over the field and you got about a quarter of a second that you've now locked eyes real quick with the receiver and the ball's gone. You don't know who's behind him or around him unless you've diagnosed the defense pre and post snap that he's doing. Because every time he's scanning, he's picking up, okay, there's one. Okay, he's got to be open. I'm throwing the ball this way. And that's just how good he is. Another shout out in the chat. Let me wind back here. It was Randall Schaub. He says, the more comfortable he is with the receiver, the more dangerous Goff is. And that is another spot on take of the day. I'm going to have to get some more audio lined up today. I promise I will. I'll get it done. But that is
a big-time stop by that defense.
I'm giving you defensive stuff. Look at that. I'm sorry. Let's talk JMO for just a brief moment. I know you're a big-time JMO supporter. I mean, I'm a JMO supporter. But I'm also on the other side of it, too, that I still think that there's more that we haven't seen, and we need to see it. And until he really wows me and blows the doors off. Look, he's electric. He's a field stretcher. I think that when you have to evaluate him entering 2026 under a new offensive coordinator, I'm a little bit worried that maybe he won't pick it up as fast as what he had to learn initially when he entered the league. It took him a little bit to understand the playbook. So if things are really confusing or complicated, which it can be, with a new coordinator, especially someone like Drew Petzing and Ben Johnson, like the reason why JMO struggled initially is because the offense, this was per reports, that the offense was complicated. And so I'm a little worried going into 26. Is he going to struggle because of the new offense, or did Dan Campbell and Drew Petzing and Mike Kafka really examine what the Lions are doing? I know they're not changing the language a ton, and they're going to try to keep things installed that keep the offense the same but different, right? The Lions front office clearly believes in them and the value, right? A lot of Lions fans love them. I mean, I do too. I support them. But locking him in, to a 3-year, $83 million contract early, I think it was way early to pay him. I think that was for multiple reasons. One, you didn't want to have to pay the inflated rate after what they were expecting him to explode into the league. It hasn't happened yet, but it's coming, hopefully, right? What does he do? What does he do well? Why would you want to trade him? And do you need to trade him? I think are two totally different questions. I think that it comes down to him ripping off massive chunk plays that makes him so exciting. But you also can't just be a one-trick pony. So he also stresses defenses because defenses have to worry about the vertical threat. Williams is elite in his own right for the things that he does well. It's the things that he doesn't do well that would concern me. But he's had elite production on limited volume at times. What I'm more concerned about is when he has to take over a game, when we have some guys missing out of the offense, or we have guys that aren't able to produce in a game for whatever reason, because maybe we're going up against a really good defense that can lock down a couple of guys. JMO has yet to really take the game over. I think he did it once last year when Amon-Ra St. Brown was struggling with some things, but he needs to do it more. Like, I need to see JMO having those 150, 170, 200 games more often. A couple times a year would be great, but at the same time, this offense really isn't designed to just make one guy the elite guy too. So I understand that. Yards after catch, man, he's a monster. Stretching the field. I mean, Williams makes money pushing the ball deep. But is this offense designed about going deep? No, even though Jared Goff is, a top 5, top 3, top 2, top 1 with deep balls, it doesn't mean that we throw the ball deep too much or even often enough. So my concerns going into 26 is the complication of the offense. But is he elite? Yes. Is he elite enough to be a number 1? I don't know. That question is not answered yet for me. The hands, the drop issues, the inconsistent target share, the catch rate. He posted an identical catch rate, 63.7% in both 24 and 25, and he had 11 yards per target. Is it fantastic enough? I don't know. We'll find out this year with Drew Petzing.
So let me break that down for a second. We're going to keep Amon-Ra St. Brown as basically his own entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's his own man. He does his best work when he's beside J-Mo, and he's in the slot. We had Sam Laporta, and behind Sam Laporta, we had Brock Wright and a couple other tight ends who really couldn't beat a one-on-one matchup. Sam Laporta was beating one-on-one matchups. You have J-Mo on the outside on the boundary running down the sideline. It doesn't really matter what route he's running because to beat speed, you need to run a cover 3 match kind of defense. You need one player to play man on him, and you need a bunch of zones around him to kind of narrow that window and prevent him from breaking free. Whether it's the strong safety coming across to play him over the middle if he's running any kind of dig or crosser or post route in a man coverage match 3 zone scheme, or it's the free safety who's pinching in on him in that scenario as well. Like, you need to run a soft zone shell with a man on him. I was watching Amon-Ra St. Brown highlights. When J-Mo was drawing coverage of 2 or 3 defenders, Amon-Ra was left one-on-one and exposed the defense, and he killed them for it. They took a penalty because they didn't have enough bodies to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown. And they wanted to stop J-Mo from breaking the defense. Well, that's the J-Mo effect. He broke your defense. You sent too many guys to protect him or to guard him, and now you left yourself exposed with Amon-Ra. Now, the same thing when Laporta was on the field. He was left with a lot of one-on-one matchups when defenses were overcompensating for Jameson's speed. And that's a win-win situation as well. Sam Laporta consistently beats one-on-one coverages. He even beats double teams at times as well. They try and chip him with an end as he gets off the line, and then he's got a linebacker on him as well, and he's still winning that matchup because of his route running and speed traits. So I view Isaac Tesla. People are saying we gave up 3 third-round picks for a wide receiver. We need to have him start playing more, getting more targets, give him J-Mo's targets. Let's see what this kid can do. Let's trade J-Mo. Tesla is going to be like the Robin to J-Mo's Batman. And remember, I left Amon-Ra St. Brown out of the equation because he's his own player. I don't think you can team him up with anybody. He's just going to do what he does, and he does it very well. You're going to have J-Mo on the outside, Tesla on the outside. You're going to have Sam Laporta in the middle running a vertical. You're going to put a lot of stress on those safeties to either split wide to cover the 6'4", 220-pound wide receiver who runs a 4.4, because your cornerback can't match his strength in a contested catch scenario, or you're going to split out your other safety to cover J-Mo, who runs 4.2 and can basically beat anybody down the line, even if they have a 10-yard gap between them to run to the end zone. So the safety's also got to press over there and make sure he's bracketed. And then you got St. Brown and Laporta, who are basically your 2 own entities, and they're going to work the middle. They're going to carve out their one-on-one mismatches, and they're just going to completely break the defense by forcing them to bend too much. There's a philosophy in the NFL, bend but don't break. And that's what I think teams are trying to do against the Lions. However, they're not able to adequately do it because you're only allowed 11 personnel on the field. No one runs a 3-3 nickel defense against us because you're not getting enough pressure on Jared Goff. You're giving guys too much time to run routes. And Jared Goff's like a serrated blade. He's just going to thread the needle and kill you every time anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I without JMO's speed, you're allowing the defense to do what Green Bay did to us week 1, which is play a hard cover 2 shell and collapse on everything down. Unfortunately, our OC last year was, to be nice, terrible, and didn't understand what he was looking at. That is how Green Bay beat us week 1. They played a hard cover 2, and everything was come downhill. The safeties were constantly coming downhill. There was hardly anybody deep, and JMO was hardly deep.
So a couple things, like Mr. Thomas says the Tesla isn't running outside, he'll be inside. Yeah, I would disagree with that. I mean, if we're in condensed formations, you're going to see Tesla inside, running to the perimeter or the boundary, right? And then Tesla, if you look at where a lot of his catches were last year, was on the boundary. And he was running, deeper routes. And Tesla has 4.4 speed. He is a true X receiver. He will be on the outside. JMO will be on the outside. JMO also lines up on the inside. When you run this style of an offense, the West Coast hybrid offense, they kind of mix and match what they do. Robbie, I appreciate the call. I want to get into one more topic here to kind of end the day, and that was based on what someone just put in the chat about pocket passers winning Super Bowls. Don't be a stranger, man. Have a good day. Appreciate the call. Don't forget, call 313-podcast. Leave me a voicemail. Email mailbag@rockdon.com. Leave me an email if you want it read on air or if you want the voicemail heard on air. That's what we're going to use it for. You can also text 313-podcast, and we'll do the same. Robbie, have a great day, man.
Take it easy, buds.
All right, brother. All right, I'm not going to take any more phone calls for the day because I got to get out of here in a few moments. But great question, right? Someone, I think it was, where was it? Great Lakes State guy, Michigan. When is the last time a true pocket passer won the Super Bowl? It's kind of hard to identify a true pocket passer in today's NFL. You have true pocket passers. You also have some blended players. But if we really look at the more mobile guys that play off structure a lot, I mean, you could even put Aaron Rodgers into that conversation in 2011, but I think the majority of us would say he's a pocket passer, right? Russell Wilson, dual threat, off structure. Jalen Hurts, dual threat, off structure. Patrick Mahomes, dual threat, off structure, right? Those are the 4 guys you could probably put in that category. Aaron Rodgers, I would put in a pocket passer. He makes more plays from the pocket, probably 90-10, right? And I would say that 60-40 is a true pocket passer. Matthew Stafford, pocket passer, right? Sam Darnold just won the last Super Bowl, pocket passer. Here's the numbers for you. Tom Brady, he won 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021. Peyton Manning, 2007, 2016. Eli Manning, 2008, 2012. Sam Darnold, 2026. Matthew Stafford, 2022, 2021, whatever you want to call it. Nick Foles, 2018. Joe Flacco, 2013. Drew Brees, 2010. Ben Roethlisberger, 2009. And Aaron Rodgers, 2011. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson are the only 3 quarterbacks that are dual threat off-structure quarterbacks in the last 20 years to win Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes has won 3, Hurts has won 1, and Russell Wilson has won 1. So 5 out of 20 years, you've had a true dual threat off-structure quarterback win a Super Bowl. Is it all about the quarterback? Nope. You have to look at the team, right? You have to look at the defense. You have to look at the weapons on the offense. And I think that we could all agree that Jalen Hurts in 2025 had a great defense, had a good offense. I'd say the defense probably won that Super Bowl for him. I think if you look at it the other way, our offense is winning Super Bowls or defense is winning Super Bowls. I would say the last 2 Super Bowls have been won through defense primarily. Outside of that, only 3 out of the last 20 Super Bowls have really been won by a defense that was better than an offense. So my 2 arguments for a long time, it's more offensive centric in the NFL. It has been since at least 2015 when they started to adjust the rules, about hitting players across the middle. They made it more quarterback friendly. They made it more slot receiver friendly. It's more offensive centric. Offenses are winning Super Bowls. The last couple years have been an anomaly over what we've seen for the last 20 years. So I hope that answers your question. But you're never going to win an argument with me that tells me that dual threat quarterbacks are the way to the Super Bowl. Because Sam Darnold, right? Sam Darnold, that everyone wrote off, but this guy. Remember, in 2024, I said he was going to have the best season ever of his career. He was going to take the Vikings to the playoffs, and he did. Oh, no, wait, did they make the playoffs in 24? I think they did. Or maybe we knocked them out. But then I said the same thing last year, that he was going to double down in Seattle and have a sensational season, and he wins the Super Bowl. Everybody wrote this guy off. So was it about the quarterback as much as it was about the rest of the team? Look, he had a hell of a season. His stats were impeccable, right? Impeachable, honestly. Same thing for Jared Goff, man. Look, he wins a lot of football games. Wins. Not just winning. Jared Goff wins. You could never tell me that Jared Goff is not responsible for a lot of the wins. Yes, Amon-Ra does his part. Yes, Jamo's done his part. Absolutely, Jahmyr Gibbs, 48 touchdowns in 3 seasons, the most in the NFL, has done more than his part. Pocket quarterbacks are the most consistent. They're the most accurate. They win the most games. Dual threat quarterbacks lose more games. Justin Fields just look at his record, right? Go look at the dual threat quarterbacks over the last 20 years. And outside of Michael Vick, who really revolutionized the position as the dual threat quarterback, they have lost more games because of why? They get injured. And when you do the AGL, the average games lost because of players that are injured, more teams have lost more games because their quarterback was running around and got the crap knocked out of them, and then they're done. And then as they age, they stop running as much because they can't. So explain that. Explain how you were a dual threat quarterback for 4 years, maybe 5 at the most, and then the last 4, 5, 6 years of your life, of your life in the NFL, you're more of a pocket quarterback. Look at Jalen Hurts. What was the biggest thing that he said after the Super Bowl? What was the number one thing that he said after the Super Bowl? It wasn't, oh, they doubted me because I couldn't run the football. That's not what he said. What he said was they doubted me because they didn't think that I could pass the football from the pocket. That's what Jalen Hurts said. And then he said, that the defense helped win the game. And they did. I think they had 5, 6 sacks in that game. It was an incredible game, but it wasn't just edge. It was also inside. It was 3-3. 3 sacks on the interior, 3 sacks on the exterior. But why would Jalen Hurts make that comment that they doubted that I couldn't throw the ball from the pocket if pocket quarterbacks aren't the answer? It's great to run around, but when you get injured, you just ruin the season for your team. It's great to run around, but when you fumble the football, well, now it's going back to the other team. It's great to run around, but when you run around and you start throwing interceptions because you're under attack, you get the theory that I'm rolling with here. I'm not saying the dual threat quarterbacks aren't great. Yeah, there's some great players. Patrick Mahomes is more of a pocket passer than a true dual threat today. He's not running as much as he was in the beginning of his career. And I highly doubt he's going to run a whole lot this year. Now, that doesn't mean that he'll have a great season because he's going to be more in the pocket, but it's going to be different for him. I highly doubt Andy Reid wants this dude running all over the place coming off of a major injury. But if you go back and look, I mean, here, let me just look up Patrick Mahomes real quick. (2025) before his injury, which was it was in December, but I don't remember which week it was because that matters. It was week 15 against the Chargers. I don't know how much he played in that game. Like, did he get injured early, after halftime, whatever. So let's just say through 14 full games of last season, and I don't know how many games he missed prior to that, but he threw 3,587 yards in 14 games. So had he played the full gamut of the season, that's 4,355 yards that he would have averaged, 256 yards a game. That doesn't sound like a guy that's just running around. How about in 2024? He was just under 4,000 yards at 3,928. 2023, hold on. I think I just lost my list. Shoot. Okay, 2023, they won the Super Bowl 38-35 against Philly. 2023, he threw for 4,183 yards. That's a lot of yards. Not many quarterbacks throw for 4,000. 2022, he threw for 5,250. 2021, he threw for 48-39. 2020, he threw for 47-40. And they won the Super Bowl. It says 2020, but was that actually 2019 season? Because 2020 was Tom Brady, if I'm not mistaken. 2019, he threw for 4,000 yards, 4,031. That's one of the that is the third lowest output that he has had since he's been in the league. And we all know that he was running a lot more in 2019. He only had 5 interceptions, and like those are the numbers that matter the most, right? How many TDs to how many interceptions? He only threw for 26 TDs in the year that they won the Super Bowl. In 2019, right? In 2023, so if I look at 2022's numbers, he threw for 41 TDs, 5,250 yards. Doesn't sound like a guy that's running around a whole lot to win a Super Bowl. Okay, let's dig deeper. Let's dig deeper on his actual running numbers. In 2022, 61 carries, 358 yards, 5.9 average, 4 touchdowns. That's just not enough, right? To say that is what's winning football games. 61 carries, 358 yards, 5.9 average, 4 TDs. It's just like another running back on the field. I mean, it's like your third running back on the field. Or your fourth, it's like your third running back on the field. It's not enough. The most yards he had in a season on the ground. Well, in 2019, when he won the Super Bowl, he only had 218. 2 touchdowns. He scored 19 touchdowns in his career on the ground. He's had 2 years where he didn't score any touchdown. He's had 5 years where he's only scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. 2025, he had 5. 2022, he had 4. And I'd be willing to guarantee a lot of those when near the line of scrimmage. But here's the other number you have to look at. 16 fumbles. 16 fumbles. It matters. It all matters. Look, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's absolutely not. He's a Hall of Famer. But what I am saying is we don't need a dual threat quarterback. And if you think we do, then please answer why it is that the Lions beat every mobile quarterback. Lamar Jackson was shut the F down last year. Shut down completely with a defense that was not that great. Was already missing players. Like, I mean, come on. It's an old argument. It'll never die. I get it. The people look around and they say, but Patrick or Lamar. Look, Lamar still hasn't even won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen is what I would consider a pocket passer that does a lot of off structure running around. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't even been to a Super Bowl. Why is that? Maybe it's because he's running around too much. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. When you look at his numbers, it is, I mean, it's crazy that he has twice as much running rush yards as Patrick Mahomes. So there's the argument. 100 plus carries on average per year. Patrick Mahomes has half as many carries, half as many yards, and 3 more rings than Josh Allen. Even though Josh Allen is a hell of a quarterback slinging the football, it's the run portion of his game that, yeah, in 23, 15 TDs, 24, 12 TDs, 25, 14 TDs on the ground. But did you make it all the way to the Super Bowl? No, he didn't. It's a great argument. It's a great conversation. Let's take a look at what the Buffalo Bills did last year. They lost the divisional round. They didn't even make it to the conference championship. They lost the conference championship at 24. They lost the division in 23. They lost the division in 22. They lost the division in 21. They lost the conference championship in 20. They lost the wild card in 2019, and they fired the freaking coach. Like that was just stupid. Absolutely wild to have that kind of success and you fired your coach. And that's why I brought, the question up this morning. Is Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes going to get extended? Like, yeah, they've done amazing things. They've turned around the city of Detroit as football fans. They've turned around, this team, this organization. But to have that kind of success, making it into the playoffs every single year. I'll tell you this, the teams that have been winning Super Bowls lately outside of Seattle Seahawks, even including them, they haven't won a lot of games in a row. They haven't been to a lot of playoffs, and they haven't won a lot of Super Bowls, right? The Eagles, it took them like 8 or 10 years under Howie Roseman to finally win a Super Bowl. And they didn't go to the playoffs, I think, 3 or 4 years in a row before they won their Super Bowl. We're way ahead of that, right? Brad Holmes way ahead of that in his tenure. And the same thing for Les Snead over at the Rams. He didn't win a Super Bowl for, I think, 8 or 10 years as the GM. And they didn't go to the playoffs for a while. So, and again, does it matter? No. Seahawks were not anybody's radar last year. They pulled it off. Who else should I look up? How about Lamar Jackson? Let's take a look at Lamar Jackson's stats. Should have been pulling this stuff up for you all the whole time. Look at that. I thought Lamar Jackson was this, this crazy dual threat quarterback, and he is, right? Look at those yards. In the first part of his career, let me make this a little bigger for y'all. 1,200 yards in 2019, 176 carries. Dude's a running back. 159 in 2020, 1,005 yards. That's insane. Look at the fumbles. 46 fumbles. 46 fumbles. You can be a dual threat all you want, but if you can't keep the ball, you ain't going to win games. Look at those carries, man. That's insane. 1,081 carries in 8 years. 6,522 yards, 6-yard average, 35 touchdowns, but 46. He has more fumbles than touchdowns. That's insane. Let's look at his passing. This dude is paltry as a passer. Paltry. 1,200, 31, 27, 28, 22, 36. His best year in 24, 41. And now 2,500-ish in 25. That is terrible. Absolutely terrible. What's the Ravens win-loss records? The heck did it go? There it is. 2025, no playoffs. 24, division lost. 23, lost the conference. 22, lost the wild card. 21, no playoffs. 2020, lost the division. 2019, lost the division. 2018, lost the wild card. He started there in 2018. No Super Bowl berths, no Super Bowl wins. Last time they won a Super Bowl, 2012. Who was the quarterback back then? Take a wild guess. It's a great topic, man. I love this stuff. This is the stuff that I get all hyped about because everyone will always try to say that the Lions need to replace Jared Goff, but Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl for the Ravens. The dude's like 6'20", you know, and stands as tall as a statue, and he doesn't run around. And he won a Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl for the Ravens, by a pocket quarterback. The Bills have never won a Super Bowl. Their last appearance in a Super Bowl was 1994. They lost to the Cowboys. 1993, they lost to the Cowboys. 1992, they lost to the Redskins, now Commanders. 1991, they lost to the Giants. They went 4 years in a row. Anyone remember who the quarterback was? Oh, that's another good that's another good shout out there. 4th and 60 says Flacco won against who? Kaepernick, the running sensation. Was it Kaepernick? What was that? Hold on. Why doesn't it show the opponent? Yeah, it was the Niners. It was the Niners. And it was Kaepernick. The quarterback of the Bills, the last time they went to a Super Bowl 4 years in a row, was the none more famous than Jim Kelly, pocket quarterback. All right, what else can we look at? Who else can we look at? Give me a quarterback to look at. What other dual threat quarterback should we take a little gander at? Dilfer. Oh, that's another great one, 4th and 60. The Eagles needed the NFL legend Nick Foles. Oh, another pocket quarterback. I forgot about that for a moment, man. What a crazy set of events for the Eagles back then. Insane. Insane. All right, who's another dual threat quarterback that you guys want to look at? Talked about Lamar. Talked about Josh Allen. We talked about Patrick Mahomes. Only one of them has won a Super Bowl. And only one of them has been to a Super Bowl. That was Patrick Mahomes. How about Cam Newton? Let's take a look at Cam Newton. Let's go back a little bit. Which, by the way, Cam Newton thinks that he could come back to the NFL. And he was saying something like a $5.5 million contract wasn't enough to have him come back and play after not playing for 5 years. And when I saw that the other day, I just chuckled like, man, are you that conceited and arrogant to think that one, anybody even wants you in the NFL? And two, that they would offer you more than vet minimum after not playing for 5 years? Like, what kind of crap is that? Right? I pulled up the wrong one there. Let's get ESPN up here. Let's go into his stats. All right, let's take a look at his rushing stats first. A lot of carries. Jeez. Throughout his career, 10 seasons, 1,118 carries, 5,628 yards. Josh Allen has more than that in less seasons. 75 TDs, only 34 fumbles. He protected the ball pretty well. He had some seasons that were glaring with a lot of fumbles. Like, when you look at a running back and they pump the ball, 250, 275 times a year, if they have more than a couple of fumbles, like that's too many. Like 2 or 3 fumbles is like the max that you would want to see out of a running back. 0 is the number, obviously. But to have 4 or 5 or 6 fumbles in a year, it's just way too much on less than half the carries that your running backs are getting. Ton of yards. Let's look at his passing yards. Passing yards are pretty decent. He had 1 year with over 4,000. He had a couple years pretty close, right around 38.5. And then all the other ones were, middling, 33s, 31s, 26. Last 3 years of his career didn't go as well. So how many Super Bowls did he win? So he was 2011 to 2021, right? Or yeah, was that right? 2011 to 21. In 2011, no playoffs. 2012, no playoffs. 2013 lost the division. 14 lost the division. 15 he went to the Super Bowl and lost. 16 no playoffs. 17 lost a wild card. Never saw the playoffs again. Another dual threat, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league. No Super Bowl. 1 Super Bowl berth. Out of the 4 dual threat quarterbacks that we've talked about this morning, 2 made the Super Bowl. 1 won a Super Bowl more than 1 time. Your Honor, no further questions. That's it for today. I appreciate y'all joining this morning and keeping it lively, man. I think that, having these types of conversations can be fun. I get a little energetic when we talk about this one because I will always defend the pocket quarterback. And as much as a lot of people think that dual threat is the way of the future, well, it would have been that when Michael Vick started it, right? I mean, look, you could go back many, many, many years. There were other quarterbacks that were running around. I mean, the league was way different back then. Into the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. It was way, way, way different. But the modern NFL, the post-Super Bowl era NFL, Michael Vick was really the one that kind of kicked it off. And there was none more special than Michael Vick because that dude could pass the football, right? And he could run like the wind. But in today's NFL, what would we have noticed and what I just proved is pocket quarterbacks are winning more than 75% of the Super Bowls. Out of the last 20 years, only four Super Bowls have been won by a true dual threat quarterback. In his heyday, you have Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Russell Wilson. Those are the only three off-platform dual threat quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls in the last 20 seasons. Now, out of those three quarterbacks, 5 Super Bowls have been won. The other 15 have been won by pocket quarterbacks. Look, every quarterback runs around a little bit. Every quarterback is off structure at times. But the majority of those other 15 Super Bowls that were won by what I consider to be, an 80%er at least of a pocket passer. Someone that you would expect to throw the ball more than run the ball. And the stats prove that. Less than 10% of their yardage was through the ground, and it should be. Right? That should be 300-400 yards a year or less. You want less than 10% of your yards to be on the ground as a quarterback. But until that number changes, and you see 5-6 Super Bowls in a row won by dual threat quarterbacks, not named Patrick Mahomes, which again, he's slowing down too. When you really look at his numbers, yeah, he's a dual threat quarterback, but he's not running like you really think. He's just not running like you think he is. A couple hundred yards a year it's not overwhelming. It's just having the ability to be able to run adds another dynamic, to the offense. If you're going to let him run, I mean, they're going to hurt you. If you let Jared Goff run, he's going to hurt you. He's just not fast enough to outrun anybody. But if you let him run, he'll get his yards. He's proven that. He's gotten some first downs when he needs it. Anyway, great conversation today. Appreciate all the action. Don't forget. There's another one. Rather B says Brady beat McNabb. McNabb was another off structure quarterback too. I think he was more pocket, to be honest with you. One of my favorite quarterbacks of the past. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. Who was your favorite quarterback? Who was your favorite quarterback of the past, like 20-ish years, 25 years? Randall Cunningham. He was one that I loved watching. I hated it against the Lions. I loved watching Randall Cunningham. That dude was fun to watch. All right, I'm out here. Appreciate y'all. Go on Pride, go Detroit Lions. And don't forget, DetroitFootballJournal.com. Sign up today, get your free 30. And then we're going to be streaming on Facebook. Follow at DFJ Sports 1 on Facebook. We have nobody following it yet. I just created it. We need people. I'm rebuilding. I've tried to reach out to Facebook again to get my Rocktown Detroit Lions back. Hopefully we'll get it back soon. It's still there, just hanging out in the middle of nowhere. DFJ Sports on Twitter. Will Rock Jr. on Twitter. Rocktown Detroit Lions, obviously, on YouTube. And Detroit Lions Today on YouTube. We'll be streaming to all those channels. And then, of course, getting back to the regular podcasting audio version will be added here shortly. And I'll let you guys all know where that is. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you.